And we should be live now. The stream has just started. I'm getting good reports from YouTube. So, welcome everyone. And Jonathan is here. If you don't know him, this is Jonathan Turner, my cousin. He did a CPP cast episode. What? How long ago was that now, John?
A few weeks ago.
A few weeks ago. I'm losing track of time, but I think everyone is these days. So, they let us know in this chat window here on YouTube if you've got any problem hearing us or anything. I think I have the sound level set correct. Yeah, but otherwise, we'll get started. It looks like echo, echo, echo. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. Other people say it sounds good. All right. Very good. We're good to go. It's like someone just trolling us or here. What's going on?
Yeah, it's hard to know.
Yeah. All right. So I have just a fresh, you can even see the name here. This is Jason Streaming. This is a brand new, fresh Manjaro Linux install. And I chose Manjaro because that's my favorite Linux distribution at the moment. And I think you agree, right, Jonathan?
I was a big Pop! OS fan for a while, and then I think I finally am getting converted slowly but surely.
So for the sake of our viewers, the things that we're doing right now, are they mostly the same on macOS and Windows?
Yeah, so Rust is cross-platform, and it's the same set of tools that you would use. So the steps that we're going to go through in this stream are going to be the same on Mac OS, on Windows, on Linux. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
So you can kind of follow along with whatever platform that you're using.
All right. So I have a Linux prompt.
Okay.
What
So
do I do?
how do we get started? All right. So Jason has nothing installed other than, I think, VS Code.
I've got like nothing. Yeah, like there's nothing going on here. Yeah.
All right.
Oh
So
yeah,
the first
VS
thing
Code.
that we're going to do, yeah, you do have VS Code.
I
just to save download time.
I did it like that. I just installed it on this.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So the first,
you got a comment that
what's
says
that?
Pop OS still exists. Someone just asked.
Hey, it's actually really nice. I like that. Well, I'm not going to get derailed on talking about Linux distros. We'll do that for too long.
Okay, sorry.
But it's nice. All right. So first step. Now, there's multiple ways to install Rust, but there is one main way, and it's with this tool called RustUp.
Okay.
And what RustUp does is it manages your versions. So it's an easy way. When a new version comes out, you can just kind of update it. And this tool works, again, kind of across platforms. So if you're on Windows, you're on Linux, you're on Mac OS, you can always use the same tool, and it will manage the versions for you. So that's generally how people do it.
Okay.
To download it, we're going to go to rustup.rs. So
I haven't even launched a web browser on this yet.
We'll see if it works.
I think it's default Firefox, right? Yep, it is. Okay. So where am I going?
rustup .rs.
.rs. Okay.
So what this will do when you bring it up is it's going to detect what operating system you're on and then give you what it thinks is the best way for you to install it. Now there's a couple of, you might have alternatives, like if you're on Windows, but you want to use WSL, it'll give you some alternatives.
Okay.
But because we're on Linux, the easiest way is just to do kind of a bash script. So this is going to curl us a bash script and then run it. So just go ahead and copy that whole thing. Yep. And then paste that in your terminal.
You know, I have never, ever gotten used to the middle button paste. I even have a middle button on this laptop.
I don't even have a middle button. Yeah, I think I've used trackpads for too long.
All right. So that's it. Just hit enter.
That's it.
All right.
So then this will do all of the kind of initial setup. All right. So now we've got some choices. The default host triple. So this is just like a C++ target. The tool chain. So you have stable. It's like stable, testing, and nightly, I think, are the tool chains.
Okay.
We're going to stick with stable. Nightly has more bells and whistles. It's actually, Nightly is also pretty stable. They do a pretty good job of the CI. But I generally try to stick with stable, especially these days.
How far behind-ish is stable?
So the way that they do it is every 6 weeks, it's like a train. So every 6 weeks, Nightly becomes That nightly snapshot becomes testing, and then 6 weeks after that, testing becomes stable.
Okay.
And so stable is, you could kind of think of it as like 12 weeks later or something, or 12 weeks earlier.
Okay.
So, but it's also gone through a bit of, additional hand testing before it goes out the door. So we've got stable. I would just say, let's just go ahead with the default installation.
So I just
So
hit
click
1 and hit enter.
That's right.
All right. I'm just looking at the comments here. A couple of people have said that CLion IDE has good Rust support.
Cool.
I haven't tried it. I know there's a Rust plugin. Oh.
Yeah, there's a.
Sorry, someone asked what your background is. Why are you here teaching me
Why
this?
am I here? Who are you? Yeah, so not only am I Jason's cousin, but
that is qualification enough, honestly.
Yeah, right, clearly. I've been doing Rust for the last 4 years. I worked at Mozilla on the Rust team, so I got to do Rust not only full-time, but also help design it as well.
Okay.
And yeah, I work on a project now called New Shell. We may have time to talk about that at the end, which would be kind of fun. But yeah, I do Rust a lot of Rust.
So would you call yourself a Rust expert?
It's funny. I was thinking about that. I think people might call me that, but I would not call myself that, because the people that are really, really good are entirely too fancy for me. I tend to be a much more pragmatic Rust programmer.
Okay. Yeah. Good. All right.
Okay, so we're installed. Great. So go ahead and do that. See that last line says to configure your current shell run blah. Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and do that.
Ooh.
I assume we're on bash.
I don't want the escape. Yeah, it's bash. So that should be good. Yeah.
Yep.
So now.
And now type rust C.
Sorry, I just wanted to see what it did to my path. It put it. Oh, it put it at the front of the path. I see. Okay. Personally, I would think it should have been after .local bin, because that's where I put the things that I want.
Right.
Right. Rust C.
Oh, actually, just to kind of quickly point this out. Oh no! That was off the screen.
That.
Yeah. So in that path where it's like there's a .cargo bin, cargo is the tool that we'll be using to build. It's kind of like make plus npm in a way, if people are familiar with npm. Kind of like it automatically manages the dependencies for you. It goes and downloads them, it builds them, and then it builds your project against those dependencies.
So
and it also,
from our perspective, maybe a little bit more like Conan than npm from the C++ perspective.
Right. Okay, so now we have it in our path. Go ahead and type rust C.
Okay.
-- version. Just okay, that's fine. Either one's fine.
I just keep hitting enter. Sorry.
All right, we've got a working Rust. I guess we could kind of start with this and then add on the IDE, if you will.
Sure.
So let's make a new project. Is it okay to just make a project inside of your home directory? You want to make a directory inside your home directory?
I'll make a directory inside my home directory. What is it? How's that sound?
Sure.
Am I going to be editing files then on the command line for a minute, huh?
Not really. This will be pretty quick.
Okay. I was going to install an editor.
All right. So to get started, you can use Cargo. So we're talking about Cargo as kind of this package manager, make, build, Conan kind of thing. What you can do is you can create your project with it. So you can say cargo space new space and then the name of the project that you want to do.
So now, is it going to create another folder for me?
It's going to create another folder. You could use this one and say, I think it's cargo init and then dot, like cargo space init space dot.
So is it better that I do it from here and let it create the full folder layout? Like,
It doesn't matter. It's totally up to you. But I generally do cargo new just because it lets it create that directory and then adds a couple of additional directories for you.
so like this is how you would personally do it.
That's how I would do it. Yep.
Okay, very good. I'm just going to call it Learning Rust Project just for the sake of my own sanity at the moment.
Sorry.
Okay.
All right, so go ahead and go into there. We'll just take a quick look around.
Yeah, I will do. What's a TOML file?
So a TOML file, actually let's just open that up real quick.
Fascinating that it created a Git folder too.
So this is going to be the file that if we add dependencies, which we'll do later on, we'll add them to this TOML file. And when we do, that is what Cargo will pick up and then download them for you. Also, there's a website that we can look at later called crates.io. And this is where people share their Rust code with each other.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's the same thing. You'd use Cargo TOML, you make that your project name and get it all set up, and then that's what it'll use to publish to that site.
So may I infer that the template for this has not been updated since 2018?
That's a great question. So the way that Rust does backwards breaking changes is that it actually doesn't do backwards breaking changes. So an addition is a set of changes that would change the syntax, but you opt into that. So you're always backwards compatible. Like I could grab a dependency that uses an old version of Rust, and it will just work against my project just fine. It doesn't have to all be the same addition.
Okay.
Which is kind of a really nice thing.
So I'm right now.
Yeah,
sorry.
I was just going to say 2018 is the most recent edition.
Okay.
Of that big set of changes.
Okay. So that's what I'm currently using right now.
That's right.
And if I wanted to use the nightly features, would I then change this to something different?
No, so the addition would stay the same, but by using the nightly compiler, it allows you to add what do they call it? Unstable features. So you can put like little flags in your source file that would enable additional features.
Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you, Peter. I just got a €10 tip on the chat there from
Nice.
Peter. Figure out how to. Oh no! My secondary laptop is saying I'm getting ready to restart to and do updates. No, I can't monitor the stream.
I have to say, for those of you who've been following Jason a while, one of his most classic moments was when his laptop rebooted. Oh, was it? It's CPP Now or something like that?
Was that CPP Con on the main stage?
CPP Con.
1,000 people in the room or something.
Yeah. But you handled it so well. It was like so classic.
It's one of those moments where I said, well, this is literally the worst thing that could happen. And it's 5 minutes into my first really big talk. So I guess it can't get worse from here. Okay. So
okay.
Is this TOML? Is this what is? I mean, what am I trying to say? It kind of looks like YAML, but it's not. It's not JSON.
Yeah.
Is it its own thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, TOML is its own. Like Rust didn't come up with TOML. TOML was already a file format.
Okay, I'm not familiar with it. It kind of looks like a Windows INI file or something too.
Yeah, it does kind of.
For those of us who are old school here. Okay. Now what, boss?
All right. So we talked about additions. Yeah, I mean, the dependencies, we'll add those later. So that's what the cargo TOML file is. And then let's go ahead and look at the source directory, the src directory.
If only I knew how to type, we'd get there in a moment.
All right. So it'll give us a main file. And let's go ahead and look at the main file.
Oh.
Hey.
Hey.
Great.
It's fascinating, actually, because it's a terribly cynical thing to say, but I think most programmers would have a hard time starting a new project from scratch in the language that they use every day, because you so rarely do that. And this just I don't even have to know how to create a project from scratch. It just did it.
Yeah. I mean, we could have taken you through like actually writing this file and setting up, like you can call the compiler by hand
Uh-huh.
and pass it a file and get a binary. You can do that, but it's just generally not how things are done. You start with a project so you can actually add dependencies and whatnot.
We want to do things the best practices way around here.
All right, so we've got hello world. So let's go ahead and run that. Go back to your root directory. You don't have to go back to your root directory, but this is, again, how I would do it. All right.
Okay.
So we've got a couple of cargo commands that we can use. So type cargo run, cargo space run, enter.
Okay. I was waiting to. Uh-oh. Nice.
Yeah, you got. I was curious if it was going to ding you for that. That's great.
I choose the case I want to use in the project that I'm working on. Thank you very much.
Funny. Yeah, so you got a little bit of a warning. It'll still compile just fine.
Okay, if I wanted to rename the project right now, do I change just the TOML file?
You'll change the TOML. Actually, if you change the directory name, I think you might have to change the directory name and the TOML file.
Is it worth trying? I mean, I don't want code that has warnings.
Go ahead and change the TOML file by itself and see if that's enough.
Let's see if I have an editor installed.
You might have VI.
I'm sorry, I'm just not going to go there. We'll just...
What is NeoVim do that it uses libuv?
I think it's some of its color support. Oh, 5 package updates available. I think it's its color support. Okay. Wow.
So go ahead and change that learning Rust project to something like snaky.
Wow, that is, I don't know the last time I used a bare bones Vim without my personal configurations. I'm like, is that actually what Vim looks like?
You might be able to do syntax on and get coloring for these things. I don't know what NeoVim search was. But...
It's like that, right?
Yep.
No, it doesn't seem to be recognizing the file format. Yeah, okay. That's fine. Okay.
So if we do cargo run now, what happens?
That seems to be okay.
So it seems to be, it's not the directory name so much as the project name in the TOML file.
So it compiled it if it needed to be compiled, and then it actually did run the program.
That's right.
Okay.
So let's say we actually wanted to build it. So you can do cargo space build.
Okay.
Okay, it's built. Cool. And then, so now we have a target directory, and inside of there, we have the actual target. So go target debug, and then the name of the project.
Oh goodness, it did lots of things.
Rust. Yeah, because we renamed the project.
Oh, so that's my binary.
That's your binary. And it's got all the debug symbols and whatnot, which is why it's a bit bigger than you'd expect.
Oh, I didn't even care. Oh, what is that? 2.7 meg? That's a little on the big side.
You can't. There are FAQs online if you wanted to get it really small, but we'll just keep it as the default for now.
Yeah, there's people commenting right here. 2.7 meg binary. Yeah, it's you're saying it's all the debug stuff.
It's all there's like debug. There's a ton of standard library stuff in there. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah, and let's not even pretend like if I did a C out version of this with Hello World, that would be that much smaller, right?
Yeah.
A puts version, sure, but that's cheating. All right.
But yeah, there are FAQs if people are like, oh my gosh. And you can use Rust for IoT for embedded, so you can get it really, really small if you really, really want to.
So that's probably worth mentioning. There's garbage collection.
No garbage collection.
No garbage collection.
All Rust memory management is done by the compiler.
Okay.
Which is, it can be a little bit odd for, like when you first get started, the first big wall that people hit is around how to work with the compiler and the memory management, which is
Okay.
called its ownership system. But yeah, we'll probably talk about that a little bit later as we build up some stuff.
Sure. Well, yeah, we might have to actually start moving slightly faster because you do have a hard cutoff, what you said, in about 2
Oh
hours.
yeah. What are we? Oh my gosh, we're almost like 20, 30 minutes in already.
This is
All
how
right.
streams last for 12 or 13 hours on my channel.
I know. We should do like part one, part two.
Let's see where we get.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So here we go. We've got we've got this. We can run this. So go ahead and I mean, if you run it, we'll get the same output. But
Oh, I
this
can
is
just
kind of showing.
directly run the binary, you're saying.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Boom. So you see it says debug. Let's just quickly, because I think a lot of people trip over this, and it's good to mention it. If you do cargo build and then don't hit enter and
Yeah.
do dash release.
I'm like the person on
What
the
this
tech
is-
support call that's like, no, I didn't. Don't hit enter yet.
I would
Okay,
totally have hit enter like 3 times. Wait, you said cargo. I hit cargo, then enter.
All right, cargo build release. Just like
Boom.
that?
Just like that.
Okay.
All right. So now if we ls target,
I'm doing this the least efficient way possible. Forgive me.
yeah. So now we have a release directory. So
It's the same
performance,
binary size.
I don't think it has any. Well, people need to look up the FAQs for the what else is getting linked in there.
That's fascinating. It's 8K smaller. Okay. Oh, sorry. We have to do something here because
Go.
this is my channel.
Totally.
What am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing. There we go.
You trying to run it? Oh,
No.
Okay. I don't think there's any like main.
That made
Well,
it.
that's a lot smaller.
That's a lot
Good
smaller.
grief.
And that's not even a full strip. Oh, that's not right. That's X.
Strip all.
Strip all. Ah, strip all. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we're like 200K, sure.
Yeah.
So if we run that, does it still work?
It better.
let's just say I've had some bad experiences with strip in the past.
I don't think I've seen strip
Cool.
cause a problem in a decade or so.
Yeah. This was many years ago. All right. So we can do release builds, and for people watching the streams, if you try to do a benchmark, make sure you're doing the release build. The debug build is so much slower because it's intentionally, doesn't have anything fancy because to make it as easy as possible to debug.
Do you know, is it equivalent as like -0 or something?
Yeah, I think that would be. It's like O0 plus it has the
Full
like the
GGDB.
dwarf. I think it has the full dwarf GDB stuff.
I for years and years have been actually doing -GDB when I want the full GDB dwarf debugging, blah blah blah, whatever. Anyhow, if you're on
Right.
GCC and you just -G, it's equivalent. So I've been just typing
Right.
more letters than necessary, but whatever. All right.
Whatever. And then I guess the equivalent of release would be like -03 or -04 or something like that.
Right. Yeah. 03. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Are we ready to get into our IDE now?
Yeah. Tell me what to do, boss. What's the best way to do this?
Let's start up code.
No. I was waiting for you to say, don't hit enter yet. All right, so I did launch code once before, just so our viewers know, and I am big into the fonts, which I have to say, I've used a lot of IDEs for presentation. I've never used code before, and I am supremely impressed that the standard keys to Zoom also in Zoom all the icons. From a presentation perspective, this is huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job. All right. Just quickly for people that aren't familiar with VS Code, just to get orientated. On the left side, you've got files, and then search, and source control, run, and plugins. And what we're going to click on is plugins, because
Okay.
we're going to install a Rust plugin.
Type Rust.
So search for Rust. So what we're going to install is the second one, Rust Analyzer. And the reason being is that the first one uses a kind of an older IDE support, and Rust Analyzer is the new up and coming IDE support. It's a lot more featureful than the original one.
Okay.
So go ahead and install that.
Just hit install. Oh, that was fast. All right. Language server.
Download now. Yeah, click the download now. So it's going to install an additional. Cannot activate Rust Analyzer when no folder is open.
So I don't have a project open yet.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and open a project.
Okay. Do I do the
So
Explorer?
we'll go to, you might have to pull up the bar for code.
Oops, wrong bar.
Wrong bar.
There we go. It's tiny. It didn't zoom.
If we open folder, actually you can open folder from the Explorer.
I was wondering if that big open folder button would be relevant. All right, open folder.
Sometimes the biggest button is the easiest one to miss.
Don't press the big button. Okay. And I just open this folder.
Yep.
All right.
And then hit OK.
I already hit OK. Okay. Now, just out of curiosity, so when I did this cargo, what was it, init project? Is that what it was?
Cargo new project.
New project. It did. I noticed it created a .git folder, so it actually did create a local Git repository by default here.
It does. I'm not entirely sure why. To be totally honest, there may be a flag to not use that for folks that don't use Git.
Best practices, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Most of the time, I'm on GitHub, so I don't really think about it too much. But
just so you know, someone did comment that they tried Hello World with IO streams after binary stripping to see what the size was, and that is 14K. Okay. Someone else commented that that's not a fair comparison because we're still dynamically linking in our standard library, and it sounds like Rust statically links your static.
It does.
Okay. All right. Very good. So here we are.
Cool. So now we're in our project. So open source, main. Ooh. Cool. And if you hover the main function, like, whoa. Cool.
Dark plus.
That's great. Thanks, code. Hover, or hover main. Cool. So this seems to be working.
Okay.
It went so fast. I'm used to seeing in the bottom left, you'll see Rust Analyzer doing its work. But yeah, so now you can hover it, you can get docs and whatnot.
I am on a very beefy machine at the moment. It's the fastest computer I have that I'm connected to remotely for people who are curious. And I did that because while trying to run this locally, my laptop cannot keep up with doing these things while encoding the stream and handling a Zoom call and all the things at once. So,
right. Yeah, for folks in the chat, ID is not required. I'm just kind of showing this as something that you can get set up if you prefer an IDE.
So from experience, one problem we'll have is people will continue to join, obviously, the stream, and they'll be an hour in and be like, why are they using an IDE? And obviously we address those questions.
Totally. You can use Vim if you want to just kind of use Vim. There's nothing like required about the IDE.
I just want to try something.
Yeah.
I'm just like a monkey copying what was already here in front of me.
Yeah.
Okay, just testing code. All right, very good.
Yeah. Let's actually take another look at this. One of the things that might jump out at you is there is an exclamation point after print line.
I do see that, and it seems weird.
It is weird. Okay, so let's talk about that. you'll see when you hover, it says macro rules println,
I
print as
do.
standard output. So this is a macro.
Okay.
So if we do, let's just try something real quick. So after function main, between line 1 and line 2, let's just create a variable. So like let's x
I have no idea how to
equals
create a variable. All right, sorry. Let x.
yeah
Uh-huh.
equals 3 or something.
Oh, whoa. What's it doing?
Yeah. So hit semicolon.
Oh, I'm just so glad
So
that semicolons are required, actually. That really makes me happy at the moment. I feel less lost.
uh, yeah, so this would be like auto x equals 3 in C++.
Okay, so this bit, the colon I32, that's the editor putting that in for me to let me
That's
know.
Rust Analyzer.
Okay.
Yeah, it does take a little getting used to because when it does type inference, it lets you know what the inferred types are, but that's not actually part of the source code. It's just kind of a ghost.
Okay, right. Yeah, I'm used to this in C Lion, although it took me a while to get used to.
Right.
Okay, so that's just equivalent to so if now I have to if I did that, I'm explicitly saying that's a 32-bit integer.
Absolutely. Yep. And then I32 would be, yeah, 30-bit integer. And then I means signed. So it'd be like S in C++ land.
So is there a U32
Yep.
then? Wait, is that
Yep.
the channel that UHF was on?
U32. I don't remember.
What was it?
I have to go watch that movie.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. Now, is there an unsigned? I mean an unsized? Can I just do U? I cannot.
There isn't. So by default, so if you just delete it, it says I32, but now let's do a little sidebar. What's actually happening is when you say 3, it's it is an integer. It has no idea what size integer.
Right.
And what's going to happen is it's going to trace how x is used in that function until it finds a place where it's used in a way that it can nail down what type of integer it is. So let's say you assign 3 and then you use it somewhere that U64 is needed. It's like, oh, you meant U64. No worries. Type inference, U64. Yeah.
Whoa. That is
Yeah.
so backward from what I'm used to.
Yeah, it's different, right?
That is, I feel like that makes me uneasy. That's not, no. I mean, I'm sure you're aware that in C++, the type is assigned here.
Right.
And then this would be a narrowing assignment or something.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
So the way that Rust comes somewhat from C++, but also comes a bit from the functional programming heritage. So originally it was an offshoot from OCaml, and functional programming languages like OCaml, Haskell, etc., do a much deeper type analysis by default,
Okay.
type inference by default. So that's why we see some of these kind of what might seem backwards if you're used to, top-down type inference.
Right.
This kind of just tries to do a full constraint analysis of like where it's being used and how it's being used, and then, figures out the type from that.
I mean, it sounds kind of related to the other projects that you've worked on, like TypeScript, that does kind of partial typing constraining in a way, unless I'm just hearing that backward.
No, you're right. There is some similarity, definitely some similarity there.
Okay.
Yeah, Leslie called it. This is very Hindley Milner.
Yeah. So Leslie is a computer science student, right? Or is it computer engineering, Leslie, at Boulder at the moment, actually.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Go Buffs.
I don't think you actually said on the stream that that's where you finished your.
That's where I did my master's.
Yeah. That's where you finished your PhD as a master's.
That's right.
All right. Okay, now that my brain is
so now
warped.
we have some type inference. Cool. And you can see a little bit of what's going on. Let's use println. So we're going to print out the value of, I don't care, X, Y, pick your pick.
Okay. Sure.
So to do that, inside the string, wherever you want to put it.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Yeah, sure. I'll put it
sure.
here.
So do like open curly, close curly,
Oh, it auto-completed the curly for me. That's
and
really...
then
Wait a minute. If I just wanted...
this
Do I
is
have to
a
escape it if I wanted an
nope.
actual brace?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I just wanted to know why the IDE was auto-completing it for me, like if that's the only logical syntax here.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
And then we're going to pass as an argument either X or Y.
So is this light bulb telling me that I don't have a correct number of arguments?
Probably. Rewrite as a raw string. I don't ignore it.
Sorry, I had to try it. Ah, okay. I'm using my Vim bindings there.
We did just get to see what raw strings look like. If you wanted to, if you had a lot of things that you needed to escape, it can be really annoying to put all those escapes in. So you can switch into a raw string mode and then just write them in there.
It looked very
I
similar
think,
to C++11's raw string mode.
right. I thought it C++ had something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, X. Cool.
What happens if I do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Shall we give it a go?
Sure. What do I do? There's a big run button just waiting for me here. I'll hit it.
I guess. So Rust Analyzer gets updated so fast. Like they're just developing so quickly that features get added, and I don't even know. I was like, sure, maybe
right.
that was added recently.
I hit the run button. Cargo command not found. Wah, wah.
Maybe we have to configure Rust Analyzer to be able to use that run button. Let's go use the terminal instead. See if we can get that to work.
I want to know why it broke. Oh, that's the embedded terminal. Okay. All right. So
Cargo run.
I couldn't remember what it was. Okay.
Cool.
So I printed 3x3. Neat. Okay.
And now you know Rust. Good job.
Oh, yay. I'm an expert. That's how that curve works, right? You know enough to think that you're an expert.
Hello world, ship it. I'm good.
Oh, someone here says, Peter Mueller says that it worked for him. I guess he's following along, hitting the run button. And I'm
cool.
guessing it didn't work for me because, well, I did launch code from here, but it must not have picked up my path environment.
Right.
That has to be what happened here. Because, well, let's see. If I create a new terminal, it doesn't have the correct path, right? So it's not...
that could be what it is.
Yeah, that's what's going on, is it just didn't pick up my path. Let's not bother with fixing that right now. I think people following along could fix that if they wanted to.
Right.
All right.
Okay, so we have basically the sky's the limit in terms of what we can go into next.
Okay, so I'm immediately concerned. Like, does the Rust borrow checker or something? Because I've heard these words before, so clearly they must affect my life. Is it now telling me I'm not allowed to use X and Y because I done gave them to println, or what?
No, actually, that's a great segue. Let's talk about that real quick.
Okay.
So we have X and Y are two integers, right? They're just 8-bit integers. And what's happening is you assign 3 to X, and then you assign X into Y. And because integers are pods, right?
Okay.
Plain old data types.
So that's a thing in Rust as well.
Yeah. Well, the way that we think about it in Rust is there are certain types that implement the copy trait, and we'll talk about what traits are in a second.
Okay.
But if they do so, then they are copied instead of moved. So
by
it's like
default.
Right. And all basic data types implement copy trait. So then they are just copied.
Now, if I wanted to explicitly move X into Y, can I do that right here?
I don't actually know.
Okay.
There might be some like finagling you could do with like references to try to get it to move, but
that doesn't sound worth it. Oh wait, you did say references though. So can I make, what happens if I wanted Y to be a reference to X? Can I do that?
Yeah. So put an ampersand in front of X.
In front of X?
On line 3.
Oh,
on line 3.
Oh, here. Okay. So like I'm getting a pointer to it if this is C++, but that's not the
Right.
right way to look at this at all.
Right. So
Okay.
this is kind of like a borrow of X. I mean, in a way, borrowing is very similar to how you think about it in C++. There's a place on the stack that something lives,
Okay.
or a place in memory. And I'm going to share that location in the stack with a function that I'm calling.
Okay.
Actually, let's kind of write this out so we can see this happen.
Okay.
Before we get to, I guess we need a little bit more machinery before we jump into borrowing.
Okay. Let's
Let's make
do what
a,
you had planned next then, or
yeah,
whatever.
let's make a structure so we can see what that looks like.
All right. Sure. Same file.
Sure.
Okay. We're not in Java. Sorry, I was just reading some Java
Luckily.
recently, and I'm like, seriously, every single thing's in a different file. I
Every
can't tell what's
single,
going
why
on.
is it a class? Oh my God. All right, so struct,
Okay.
and then what do we want to call this thing? Position?
It's
Sure.
recommending that I call it thread local. I'm guessing that's not what that's actually saying.
I honestly don't know what it's trying to say. That's funny.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Open curly.
Uh-huh. Semicolon?
Yep.
All right.
You actually don't.
Oh.
Not rest.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
And then let's give it an X and Y in here.
Okay. Same deal?
It's actually just X colon.
Oh. No X. No let. Okay.
That's right.
I'm going to stick with my
But
8-bit because I want to see overflow.
yeah. Yeah, we'll see it for sure. Okay, so instead of semicolons, we use commas because it's slightly different.
Because it's different. Is that the
Yeah.
main answer?
Some things you just like, it's kind of like switching to French, right? Okay, it's just French. You got to learn the French.
So a trailing
all
comma
right.
is acceptable syntax, it looks like.
Yeah, it's acceptable. In fact, it's generally common practice.
Okay.
There's actually a formatter for Rust. This is a sidebar. We don't have to do it in the stream.
Sure.
That will automatically format your file with the recommended formatting. So if you do format document, it may have it installed. I'm not sure.
Did you just see that on?
Or,
Oh, I see. The request has failed.
oh, right. Because, well, A, the path isn't correct for
Right.
code right now. And then B, we may have to go install. Actually, let's go ahead and do that real quick for people on the stream so they can see what this looks like.
No such file or directory. Okay. Yeah.
So if you go to the terminal
Yeah.
and do rust up space component space
There's no tab completion, but that's probably my setup.
add add space rustfmt.
rustfmt.
Yep. Enter.
Okay. So I'm installing a new component to the compiler.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. So rustup manages the compiler toolchain, but also, okay, so we do have rust fumped. So this is the standard formatter or Rust format, however you want to.
Now I want to suggest that maybe I do get. Let's fix this like real quick. So that is my what, bash RC? Is that where I put extra? No, that's the wrong one. Which one is it? Profile? There we go. Oh, it's in my profile.
Yeah, so you may have to kick all the way out and then back in.
Do I have to log out of?
I don't know. I feel like sometimes I do and sometimes I don't.
I know, seriously, right? Like, I feel like we're old enough and have been using this stuff long enough that we should know the answers to these things. It depends on whether or not it's in the bash RC, if it's in the profile, depending on when it gets loaded.
Right.
If it's in the bash one, then it's every time bash is launched. So let's just, if I put it in full screen, I can't find an X. I'm just going to do this real quick. Yes, save.
Okay.
And that, apparently I already had a copy of code running. Oh, maybe that was the problem. If I already had a copy of code.
I think you can just log out and then log in.
Yeah.
This is definitely the more foolproof way. There probably is a way to do it.
Oh, there certainly was. And there's probably people on the stream right now telling
They're
us that
probably
we're
screaming
morons.
at their monitors. Why didn't you run this certain command?
Oh no, I had run source profile, but code wasn't picking that up. That's what people are telling me. Yes, I should have sourced it. Yes, I did source it. Code didn't pick that up.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Okay.
But
well, do we have it now?
Yeah, we do. Okay. So
sweet.
If I just relaunch code, is it going to pull up my last project?
No, but it does have under recent. You can click learning Rust project in the middle.
Thanks, because I actually didn't see it at first. I'm like, where is it?
Okay, cool.
Now
we're starting to see some things light up. That's cool.
Could not compile running Rust project. Aborting due to previous error. Okay, good. So it's actually it's trying to build. And if I do format document, oh, okay. So now I'm using the official format.
That's right.
Okay. Very good. Now what?
All right, hit save. Control S. Or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then hover over that squiggle.
Yes.
So it's like, all right, here we go. We made an I8. Great. And then you tried to borrow this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you used it later. And it's getting really confused because you use it as an integer and as some kind of borrowed something.
So if I remove this reference to X, the world should be happier?
If you...
it got really confused now.
Yeah. Oh, so you have an explicit type annotation on Y.
I do.
So you're borrowing it, but you're not saying that it's borrowed. There we
go. Okay.
So now it's like, oh, this is a borrowed I32 and an I32.
So this error is still out of date at the moment.
Yeah. So this is kind of a quirk with Rust Analyzer. They haven't put more of a flywheel compilation like analysis in. So it only runs when you hit save. So if you hit save, it'll rerun the compiler, it'll do a check, and then it will give you the
struct is never used.
So it's never used. And then what is that one? Mismatch type.
It won't let me peek at the problem.
Interesting.
That seems incorrect.
Yeah, what is it says problem 1 of 2. Oh, maybe the warning is the other.
Just out of curiosity, if I hit.
That is.
Yeah, it actually did run. Once it actually compiled, the error went away. Okay. So I see. So it's not quite as live as maybe some of the IDEs. On the other hand,
it's not like Visual Studio or some of the other IDEs. So people that use IntelliJ may prefer that more of a flywheel kind of thing.
But, we're also used to our laptops catching fire during these kinds of things with large C++ projects. So pick your poison. Okay.
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier in the stream, but for folks that are just joining in, we're using Rust Analyzer. Rust Analyzer is the new IDE set of IDE tools or IDE support.
This right here.
And and it's 0.2.166. It's got a ways before 1.0, so there's still some quirks and whatnot.
There's an interesting comment from someone complaining about this decision here, but this, to be clear, is not a decision of Rust. This is this plugin running in VS Code that's doing this run debug thing here. So let's not blame Rust for things that are the plugin.
Yeah, agreed.
All right.
Okay, so let's actually make a position.
Okay.
If you don't mind, let's delete some of these lines.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you can leave them. That's fine. If you want to just kind of.
We're good.
Do let space. I'll call it POS or position. Equals.
Okay.
And capital P position.
Oh, so okay. Sorry.
Space. and then open curly.
Okay,
All
so I
right,
just
so
inferred the type there. The IDE popped that
that's
in.
right.
Right.
So it's like, oh, you're trying to create. So this would be, what would be the equivalent of this? Like a struct initializer or something in C++?
Yeah, so well, I guess it depends on where you're going next.
So do x colon
Okay.
and give it a number.
And then what, comma?
Yep, and then y colon. So you're required, when you're initializing this way, you're going to be required to do all of the steps. So you'll need to initialize all of the fields.
So if I left out y, it's going to be a compile error.
That's right.
All right, yeah. It's so it seems like the tool is keeping up a little bit faster somehow. Although this is still warning me, but again, this is yeah.
Yeah, this is just an aside. So Rust Analyzer does its own kind of fast analysis pass. So it's
Okay.
going to catch all the obvious things in a interactive way. And then when you hit save, it's going to give you the full set of errors. Lots of warnings. Okay, let's do another print line.
Oh, so I'm actually creating the position, but I'm never using this object and I'm never using any of the sub objects. All right.
That's right.
Oh yeah, so we do have this style of initialization, which C has supported for a long time in C++ 20 now, to be able to say initialize X with this value, initialize Y with this value, like we did here. Syntax is different. Okay. So let's print line, exclamation.
Yep. Yep. Let's print out a message like, my position is, and then curly curly. God. You could do it that way, sure.
I've been spending a lot of time with formatting code lately. You have no idea. So I'm guessing this is rightish.
It's right.
Okay.
So go ahead and run that. Oh, we could do our run button now, I think, maybe.
Yeah, it did work a second ago, actually. Could not compile. Aborting due to previous errors. Unknown
Oh,
escape
do you
character.
need, instead of escaping it that way, I wonder if there's a different way to escape the curlies. I do it so rarely that I have to try a few things.
Yeah, I got it right on my second try. This is how libformat in C++ escapes its curlies.
So hit save.
Oh, I just took
Okay,
it wrong.
cool.
I figured it would do the right thing. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right, so that works. But Rust being Rust has a couple more bells and whistles here. So if we do, instead of having pause.x and pause.y separately, we're just going to print pause.
So I need to get rid of my second set of curlies here.
Yep.
So.
Wow, that's a lot of curlies.
I feel like I'm traveling through the time tunnel.
Yeah. So this is not going to work.
Okay.
All right. So this is on purpose. I led you astray.
What? You are just sitting here waiting for me to hit the run button?
But it's for good reason. So the reason this isn't working is because by default, actually, if we scroll up and look at the error message on the bottom half. Keep going.
So it's like taking this a little bit here.
Right. So, okay, it's a little bit of a wall of text, but let's just kind of look at it for a second.
This
so it
looks
says position. Right. So we were talking about traits earlier and the copy trait. So integers have the copy trait, and that allows them to be copied instead of moved. There's another trait, and that trait allows you to display. We're going to use a slightly different one, but it's same idea.
Okay.
Certain traits allow you to take that value and just immediately print it out.
Okay.
So we're going to implement a trait for position.
I'm assuming like this. No?
Nope. I'll show you the quick way for this trait, but then actually this related trait, but then we can get fancy later and actually implement the trait ourselves. So we got above struct position, we're going to give a kind of a compiler annotation. So doing this by memory is a little tricky. Do hash.
Duh.
And then, hold on, I'm gonna go stare at my code real quick. I think it's like hash square brace. Yes. Oh,
Like
yeah,
that?
hash square brace,
Okay.
and then derive.
Okay. Oh, I just hit tab
Yep.
and it did that by
Yep.
itself.
That's because this is so common that for a lot of a struct that you might make yourself,
Uh-huh.
you might say, okay, I just want to have a quick debug to see what the values are. So debug is like display, but it's for debug output specifically.
So that did what we wanted to do.
That's exactly what we wanted. And then inside of line 11, inside your third embedded set of curlies,
I just got
um,
comments over here that are like, what's with all the curlies? Yes. So this is escaping a curly. This is escaping the closed curly. This is the
just,
format bit.
yeah. Can we remove them just for
All
clarity?
right.
So that's the one you actually need. And inside of that, do colon question mark.
Oh, I think I saw someone say
And
colon question mark in the chat stream here.
yeah.
Okay.
And this is going to switch from using the display trait to using the debug trait. Now we can run that.
Why is there? Oh, okay. That's still just a vestigial error from our plugin here.
This digital error.
All right. So I've gotten so it printed this. That's good. I've gotten a couple comments, so I'm just going to try clicking around again like I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't see
Yeah.
any way to set a breakpoint.
There
There's a debug
there
button.
should be.
Oh,
Oh, there you go. Code LLDB or MS C++ tools for extensions for debugging.
I'm going to just try to do this real quick because of the comments that I see here. Like, yeah, and knowing how to debug a project is a huge thing for
Absolutely.
learning.
Absolutely.
Close that. Oh, and now I have a hover over breakpoint. And if I hit
Debug.
then it works exactly as one would expect it to work.
Wow, that's cool.
Bloop.
I will admit to the stream, I was laughing with Jason yesterday. I am definitely a printline debugger. I'm trying to break the habit little by little, but it's a hard habit to break.
I don't know if you followed my Twitter rants earlier this morning, but I've reached the point where I think that logging might be considered a code smell because I think often it's just used for people that are trying to debug their code. But, ooh, disassemble. No, disassemble. Yes,
Disassemble number
disassemble.
5.
Disassemble always. Ha 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 ha. Now to the
Oh
regular
my
viewers of my
goodness.
stream, this looks more familiar.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like I'm watching C++ Weekly.
All right, I'm just going to close that. All right, very good. That's awesome. All right, we have a way to debug. All right.
Just for giggles, I'm going to show this one to the stream too. So between the plus and the question mark,
Let me
put a hash.
between the plus and the wait, the colon and the question mark. Is that
Colon question mark. Yeah.
okay?
Yep.
All right, and run it.
And then run it.
Oh, so it put it on separate lines.
Yeah. So this is like pretty print debugging. This is why debug works differently than display. It is a little bit more structured.
So this is the terse version.
That's the terse version. If you work with larger structures and you just need to be able to see what's going on, like in new shell, we have to use the fancier one to even see what's happening when you get really big structs. I just wanted to show that one off.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have debug, and we've seen what a trait can do a little bit. We can kind of go down the trait path and talk about that. Something else that you mentioned wanting to do was to use SDL a bit and put something on the screen.
I want to do something real, whatever that means. Pull in a library, use it in some way. I mean, I don't know. Are there like GUI toolkits that are popular in the Rust world?
All of them are a bit early on. There's like bindings to GTK and KDE and whatnot. but there's no like native one that's like fully developed yet. Part doomed to rust. Yeah, that's great. 12 hours later.
Someone says 1 hour in, he's limited on time. Can we go into boxing? Oh, that's Ollie that said that. Boxing? Do you box things in Rust?
Yeah. Okay. So, God, I guess we do need to move along a little bit.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move along. To carry us along here.
All right. So let's show a little bit of the borrow checker, because when people say Rust, could we get an HTTP GET? Maybe. We'll see if we can get that far. Let's talk about the borrow checker a little bit.
Okay.
So what you tried to do before, whereas let x equal 3 and then let y equals x,
right,
we're going to do the same thing.
Okay.
So let pause2 equal pause.
Just like that?
Yep.
Okay. And now what? Compile.
All right. So.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know how to just hit compile. I see a run button. I'll just hit run button.
All right. So let's look at that. All right. So yeah, we get the warning that the variable isn't used, but we also see something else. So when we assigned it, we were fine. But it says a move occurs because POS is type position, which does not implement the copy trait. We were talking before that the copy trait happens for plain old data types, but it's not going to happen by default on a structure.
Okay.
So when you do let POS2 equal POS, that's actually moving POS into POS2.
Okay.
So later you're trying to use it, but as it says, the value was borrowed. It's trying to be borrowed there. It's trying to be used, but it's already been moved somewhere else. So it's kind of like, I gave ownership to this person over here, and then I tried to borrow it. Even someone else tried to borrow it, and it's gone. I don't have it anymore.
Okay. So what should I do?
So there's a couple of things we can do. The first one would be that instead of moving it, what we were showing before, we can put the ampersand there. And if we do that, what we're saying instead is POS2 is a borrow of POS.
Okay.
So go ahead and hit save.
So this, okay. Compile again.
Yep. So this will work.
So even though I'm borrowed it, I'm still allowed to use the original one here?
That's right. And the reason is because Rust allows you to borrow a value multiple times if that borrow is immutable. So it's like many immutable references to the same value is totally okay. But what it doesn't allow you to do is borrow mutably, meaning I have a pointer that I can go reach through and mutate that thing. Only one person is allowed to borrow it that way.
Okay.
So we can borrow this mutably to see what that looks like.
So I want to clarify here. If I try to do that, that's a compile error?
Yep. Go ahead and try it.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
Consider
so it's
changing.
saying,
okay.
Yeah. So we were about to try that.
Yeah.
If we make it a mutable reference, then we are allowed to. That's right. So now it's a mutable reference. And that allows us to see into the original POS and to make a change in it. Yeah, the snail errors is a bit confusing, and that would be nice to fix. I'm so used to it now, just hitting save all the time.
Oh, so this actually is an error. Even though it's mutable, I'm not allowed to mutate it?
Right. So now look at the error message.
I definitely feel confused by a mutable reference not being mutable. Cannot borrow pause as mutable as it is declared. Not declared.
Right. So this is kind of saying Rust by default, all values are immutable by default. So it's kind of like const everywhere.
So this is a compile error, taking away all the other stuff. Okay.
That's right. And the only way that this is allowed is if you put mute in front. So
And
let space mute space POS.
okay, I'm on board with const being the default.
Yeah, I thought you might be.
Yeah. Why am I? Is this still a legitimate error? No.
Yeah, go ahead and save it.
I did. Yeah, I hit save, and it's still popping this up. Just wondering if it's
What
the
is
ID
this?
behind or no. That ran. Okay.
Yeah, so that should be okay. So it's basically saying, all right, we have a mutable position, and that is now going to allow us to mutate it. So we could do the, POS dot x equals whatever between line 9 and line 10. So we could do that.
Wait, I'm sorry. Do what again?
So like you were trying before, POS dot x equals some value or y equals some value.
Okay. Oh, right. Because this is mutable, declared mutable here.
Right. Now
Right.
it's mutable. It's not const anymore. And this allows us to also have a mutable reference, meaning or mutable borrow to this thing.
Okay.
And by that, it says, all right, just give me the address to that thing, and I'm going to be able to reach through that and mutate it.
Okay. So, but you said before that I'm not allowed to have
Exactly.
multiple. No, sorry. I was copying what I saw above, which was inserted by the IDEs. That's the wrong way to do it. So if I do this, that's a compile error.
If you do, there's a bit of a caveat, but yeah,
Okay.
go ahead and try that.
All right. It gave me a warning or something, it looked like.
Right. So this would have been an error in older versions of Rust
Oh, I see.
because it wasn't smart enough to watch how you're using these values.
Okay.
So for example, we assign POS2 and we mutate using POS2, and then we just ignore POS2 after that.
Right.
And because we're ignoring it, it's just kind of can evaporate into a poof of smoke.
Okay. So I'm reading between the lines. It kind of sounds like this kind of thing, the borrowed, checking, whatever, an analysis was very conservative initially, but as your control flow analysis has gotten smarter, it's been able to become smarter.
Exactly right.
Okay.
But we can see if we can use POS2 and POS3 later on to keep them alive longer and see if that trips up the error that you're trying to find.
Okay.
So I think you can just do print line of POS2, POS3 as well.
Copy paste.
All right. Let's look at the error. Yeah, here we go.
Oh, it's really
so
angry
now
with
because
me now.
they've what's that?
It's really angry with me now.
Much red, much blue. So this is saying, all right, you have a mutable borrow and a second mutable borrow. You can't do that because both of these last long enough that it can trip it.
Okay.
So when people are talking about borrow checker errors, this is the kind of thing that they're running into. They've got multiple mutable borrows and they're having to figure that out. And a lot of the discipline of tracking ownership in C++ just translates to this. So if you're used to having good hygiene with your ownership in C++, a lot of that will transfer. Yep.
I don't know. I write a
yeah.
function signature.
So yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Just pos or position or what?
Whatever you want to call it.
No. Okay. So this is the variable name first. All right.
Variable first.
Yeah.
And then
colon.
So if you want to update X, do ampersand mute.
Okay.
POS colon.
Wait, where's the colon? POS colon?
Yep.
Okay.
And then ampersand and mute make one thing.
Oh. Okay.
And then space position.
So, okay.
Yeah. And then curlies.
Yeah.
Yep. And now you can do whatever you wanted. Yep.
Can I do that?
No, we don't have decrement or post increment.
But you do have pre?
Nope.
Oh,
So it's plus equals one.
that legitimately makes me sad.
I think it was because it was so confusing to people in early C++ days where it's like, what did they do? The subtle differences are scaring me.
So it just reminds me of the fact that ChyScript still does not support post increment or post decrement because I tried to add it to the parser and I can't.
Okay. Maybe we'll do that on stream one day. That'd be fun.
Okay. All right. So I did that. Now I want to get rid of these things that were causing this compile error. This is actually, I'm just going to take this all back to this. This should be good code. This is a mutable position
Yep.
thing. And if I call and pass it like this, is that what I need to do?
That's close.
Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead and save that and run it, and let's look at the error message. If people can't tell, this is the mode of operation as a Rust programmer. You're having a conversation with the compiler constantly and trying to understand what you need to tweak about your code. So it's going to say, yeah, right. So what it wants you to do is actually mutably borrow the value.
Like that.
By default, if you just pass POS, it's going to take that whole thing and put it on the stack. And what you really want is a mutable reference into its position on the stack.
Okay, I'm going to take a quick step back. If I remove this mute, this is a non-mutable reference, like in C++. Right. Well, it's a const reference in C++. I add the mute, it was removing the const.
That's right.
Okay.
And if you remove both the ampersand and the mute, what you get is a copy of a struct on the stack.
All right. That's familiar enough. Just keeping my stuff nice and tidy here.
Yeah, I have format on save and VS Code turned on, so I don't have to
do it
manually.
Okay, so this is an explicit borrow of this value into this function call.
That's right.
Now, if I wanted to this is now at this point very bad code, but I just want to understand something.
Sure.
Let's do that. And then if I call, is that okay? Oh, do I have to do them?
No. Oh. So it's already a mutable borrow.
Okay.
So it's just going to, it basically like the mutable borrow gives me permission to make the mutation, and I'm going to give up that permission to update Y.
Okay.
And when I do that, it's just kind of, it's like passing the baton around, and whoever has it is allowed to do the mutable borrow.
Okay. So what happens if I did Oh, I just got a comment from a viewer here, a private message, who stated he cannot believe that we are not using Visual Studio Code's built-in sharing feature where you could be editing the same document with me right now.
That's true.
That is
we could do that.
A good, interesting point. But this way it makes John really think about what he's going to do next. All right, so if I explicitly make this a mutable borrow, is that going to break anything?
It's kind of a mutable borrow of a mutable borrow.
Yes.
So I don't think it's going to let you do that. It's kind of like putting multiple asterisks in front of the pointer. It changes the kind of pointer it is.
But if I do this, everything's kosher still.
Yep.
All right, okay. So looking at our time, I think we have a pretty good idea, the basic semantics of passing, borrowing things.
Yeah, I could show you one last one fairly quickly.
Go
if
for it.
You want to try to squeeze that in. So we are dangerously close to having methods. So I was like, why not just have some methods?
Very good. Now, just for the record, are they actually called methods in Rust?
I honestly don't know if they're officially called methods,
Okay.
but that's what they are.
Yeah. I mean, in C++, when people say method, they're technically wrong. They are member functions. It's
Right. And
if you just want to
that's
be
probably true in Rust as well, as we'll see.
okay.
So we don't actually define the function inside of the struct. What we're going to
Okay.
do is the struct is going to be the struct, and we're going to add to it some methods.
Okay.
So to do that, yeah, right. On line 7, start impl space.
So
You'll
that's a
find
keyword.
Rust.
Okay.
Yeah, Rust loves abbreviations for keywords. Mut, fun, impl, struct.
All right.
And then here we'll just say the name of the struct. So we're going to implement some set of new functionality on the struct.
So
That's
like
the way
that.
to think about it. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So curly.
I'm like, I've literally no idea what to do next. So, okay.
Yeah. And let's take these functions and move them into this.
These guys right here.
Yep.
Hey, you guys.
I think someone should watch this stream and see how many movie references we drop when we talk to each other.
I just I can't get used to the syntax comment here. I will say that I wouldn't say I love the syntax, but at least I feel like I can start to read it now.
Yeah, it is almost a bit uncanny valley if you're used to C++. And that does take a little while to get used to, I think. So we're really close. The last step that we need to do to make these methods is to start using self.
Okay.
So we're going to change, we already know what we are because we're position. So
Right.
we don't have to say that in the argument. All we need to say is if self is mutable or mutable borrow, which it will be in this case. So we say ampersand mute.
Here, where I am after the paren?
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't even have a name.
Okay.
So ampersand mute space self.
And then
that's
close.
that's the parameter.
So I
hate
it when IDs do that.
Yeah, I hate that. I hit it all the time. Self dot.
I have to do self dot explicitly.
Yeah.
It's funny when I see C++ programmers do this arrow inside their member functions. I'm like, this is what separates us from Python. Stop doing
from the snakes. Yeah, so do the same thing for update X.
Okay, while I'm typing this or modifying this code here, I noticed that you had me create position as capital P position. Is that user-defined types are supposed to be?
Mm-hmm.
So would I have, if I had made this a lowercase position, would I have gotten? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's conventions for nearly everything in Rust, and yeah, so we're almost right. And then one more step, you have to say self dot.
Where? Sorry.
Do you have to say it?
I don't know.
I honestly don't remember off the top of my head. I think you do have to say self dot update Y.
Oh, here. Well, let's try it since you aren't positive. It didn't like it. Is there anything called a pointer here?
Yes. Yeah, there are pointers in Rust. We probably won't use them. We may see them in the documentation to SDL, though.
Okay.
All right. So here, now, right, you got it.
Okay. I gotta say, the integration with code here is pretty good. VS Code here.
It's not bad. Yeah, if you get used to the quirks with the having to hit save before you see the error messages, it's not bad.
Does that work?
Yes, it will. But you'll have to do ampersand mute in front of POS. And you may have to also do position, capital P, position, colon. So there's a universal function call syntax in Rust as well.
Okay.
And that is the universal function call. So it's still a function, and we can still reach it.
Right. Okay. I just have to explicitly name it. Okay.
That's right.
All right. As long as I'm going off into the weeds here, is there anything like a using declaration or something like that to pull this into my current namespace?
There is. So you can do, instead of using, try use and put it at the top. This is just like a convention. Yeah, right there.
So theoretically, if I did that, then that compiles?
Should do.
Blocking,
Okay,
waiting
use
for...
position. Oh, maybe it has to be a module. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, not okay. That's fine. Let's not worry about that. Yeah. I'll just get this out of here.
But yes, there are, when you use modules, it becomes common to use to shorten those longer UFCSs.
Okay, doke.
All right. So we've seen structs, we've seen borrowing, we've seen mutable borrows. We've seen a fair amount of like what you need to kind of get started.
Right. Now we need to talk about some packages, I think, before we get too late here.
We've got an hour and a half. Yeah, let's dive in and see if we can put a pixel on the screen.
I'm just assuming I need to come back here to my targulumul. Ooh.
Exactly.
Better toml.
Heck. Sure, grab that one. That's fine.
Neat. Thank you, sir, for recommending
While we're at
the
it,
extension.
click on crates, where it says crates. That one? Click on that one too. That one's good.
Okay. What else did I install? Toml language support.
No, that's good. That's good.
Is this sorted in order of downloads, recommended versions?
Maybe?
Yeah. Okay, it is. Yeah. I don't like the fact that stayed open. Where am I? I'm going to use my breadcrumbs. Yes, breadcrumbs help. Okay. Oh, ooh, right. Now it's syntax highlighted.
Pretty. All right. We're going to pull in SDL2, and that'll be how we print to the screen. There are other like fancier game engines. People that do game development in Rust can help you better than me for that. But let's just do SDL2. So hit equals, and then 2 quotes.
I'm really hoping it's going to start automatically suggesting things since we just installed all those fancy plugins.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So hit save.
Okay. Ooh, it did something.
And then hover the mouse over the quotes.
Uh-huh.
And it'll say, hey, and then click on exactly.
Now, do I have to specify? That's funny. Congratulations, you have the current version. Oh, that's funny. Okay, now what?
All right, so now I guess the way to start, when I was playing with SDL last night, the way that I was using it was that I'd have the browser open and have some of the docs ready to go, and then the IDE window. So we'll probably end up doing that to get used to SDL until we get used to the API. All right, so here we go. Let's go look at, before we actually go to that.
I was just going to get it up and ready. All right.
Sure.
All right, boss.
So that's the C documentation for SDL.
Yes.
And what we'll do instead is we'll go to the crates.io website.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Now, wait a minute. I saw something.
Tell me. Uh-huh.
Is that what you're going to have me do and I totally ignored you?
Well, okay. So there's a couple of things. I did want to show the crates.io website as well for people that...
Oh, I'm not on crates. I see I'm on docs.rs. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry.
So, well, no, it's good. It's fine. So docs.rs is where all the documentation... So I'd say I published to crates.io. I'm sharing my crate with the world. It's going to pick up the documentation and publish that to docs.rs. And so docs.rs is kind of like your super website for all things documentation about all these crates. So here's the SDL2 docs. And here's like before you even know to go to the docs page, you would search here for SDL2, for example. And when you do that, you'll pull it up. Hey, that version number looks familiar. And then you can click on that. And then now you see the documentation, the repository, dependent crates, etc.
So this is pretty much the info. Oh, that's fascinating. Pretty much the info that the IDE was showing to me internally also, it looks
That's
like.
right. Generally, under about this package, they'll draw the README. I'm not entirely sure why it's not doing it here.
There's probably no README in SDL2
Yeah, it could be.
repository.
So here's an example. It's using a slightly old syntax that we'll fix.
Okay.
But you can kind of get a sense for where we're going.
Okay. Should I like copy this?
You could. It depends on if you want to do it piecemeal or just copy it and then we could go line by line.
It's up to you. I was just wondering what you recommended.
I would do piecemeal just for me.
All right. Very good. I'm sorry, this thumbs up is just cracking me up. That is so weird.
Good job. You have the correct version.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question. I hope it's not too far off. But as I recall, not that long ago, crates had a bit of a name squatting problem.
Yeah. I think that they're trying to slowly clamp down on that. Yeah, they had one person come in and buy and like pull up a bunch of names. And I think some of those were released. I haven't been following it super closely, but yeah.
Okay. So if we find a project on Crates.io, do we have any kind of guarantee? Guarantee is not a strong word. I mean, it's too strong of a word. Do we have any kind of like, yes, this is a good, safe package for me to use, or?
So I would, well, I mean, not to tout my own horn, but like tout my own horn. I think I just did the spoonerism. If you go to new, like NU and search for that.
Oh, in here.
Yep.
All right.
So I'll show you some things that I would look for looking for a package.
So I should click on the package here.
Yep.
Okay.
So you'll see it says last updated how many days ago. We have a bunch of badges. Well, it's funny that it says Azure pipelines failed. I should say succeeded.
Wah, wah.
But you get a sense for how active the project is.
Your master branch actually is failing 4 hours ago.
Interesting. I'll go check that out.
Sorry. Yes.
Sorry. Generally, it's green. Yeah, right. For however many people are watching, that's great. But yeah, you get a sense for like looking at it. Is the documentation good? You can look through the docs. Is it actively being maintained? How are the downloads? And there's not like one heuristic, but you would just kind of get a sense looking at it for if it's actually under heavy development.
Right. It has okay. So it sounds like you're saying pretty much the same thing that we would use for any project on GitHub, basically. We'd be like, this project looks sketchy, or this project looks actively maintained, and I know some of the people involved in it or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
So that's kind of the heuristic I would use. SEL2 has been around a while.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what I wrote the Nintendo emulator with.
I kind of assumed that. That's one reason I suggested it, because oh, there's Rust bindings for SFML. Was that example button that we saw before? Was that?
I know. If you click on documentation.
Yeah. Huh? Oh, this one?
Mm-hmm. Scroll down and see if it has an example.
Oh, it doesn't.
It may not.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, sometimes I poke through the GitHub to see if there is examples in their repo.
So these bindings is going to have its own GitHub repo that pulls in Rust or pulls in SFML. Okay. All right. I see. Oh, examples.
So it has an examples directory. So if you got into SFML, that's where I would probably just poke around and look at these to see how they worked.
Borrowed resources. I want a hello world example. I don't see one. Okay. All right. What now?
So we'll basically do the same thing we were just doing with SFML with SDL2.
Okay.
So maybe let's get back to the example. Yep. Documentation.
I just am for
there's some links at the top.
Where are they? Oh, right. The obvious links at the top, those are the ones I keep missing. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so like I said, this is a little bit old. That extern create STL2, that's no longer required. When
Okay.
we were looking at addition, at the very beginning of the stream, we saw addition 2018.
Yes.
With addition 2018, this is implied once you start using the use statements.
So this is a quite old example then, or quite old
but it's
syntax.
All right. It still does work, so that's perfectly okay. Actually, let's just for expedition, let's copy the whole thing and see if we can get that to work.
Okay. I'll just paste it in my current, just to overwrite my current example.
Yeah.
This is pretty much how we all program these days anyhow. We find what we want to do on Stack Overflow and paste it in.
All right, so delete that first line because I keep staring at it.
Okay.
All right. So here we can kind of see a more interesting example of Rust. We're pulling in some dependencies from SDL2. So we've got color, event, key code are all coming from different modules inside of SDL2.
Okay.
And then we also pull in from STD. So that's like the standard library for Rust. We pull in the duration there.
Oh, okay.
There.
Okay. So
yeah.
time chrono duration, standard chrono duration in C++. All
That's right. Then the next bit here, we initialize STD, and this is, or SDL, I mean. So this first line on line 8, we're seeing reaching into a module and invoking a function in that module.
And which?
So we're reaching into SDL2.
Wait, here.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so I'm calling the init function in the SDL2 namespace. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it called a namespace?
I mean, you could call it that, sure.
All right.
I think it's technically a module, but I mean, people come to Rust from different backgrounds. So we just kind of intermix terminology a bit.
Okay.
So SDL2 init, and the thing beside it says unwrap. And this is a Rustism. There's actually a slightly nicer way to write this with more modern Rust, but this is fine for kind of learning your way around. And what unwrap is doing is it's saying, so Rust doesn't have exceptions the way that C++ has exceptions.
Okay.
Everything is based in values. So SDL2 init is returning probably a value called result, capital R result. If we hover init, we may get lucky. Okay, yeah. It looks like, actually hit save and see if it will on both the cargo toml and the main RS.
Oh, right. I never did save that file.
So go back here and hit save again. I still don't see it trying to rebuild it.
Oh, if I just hit.
Yeah, try that.
Then we'll know if it works.
I see. So you can see down at the bottom, cargo check is running.
So it's actually,
so
updating.
It's actually going and fetching the dependencies now.
So that's what this package learning, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so just typing cargo run is going to automatically update my dependencies?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It'll go and find, oh, you have a dependency here. I have no idea what that is. Let me go find that for you. It goes and looks it up in crates.io, which is what it's about to do.
Okay.
And then it grabs the index. So this is like the list of all crates in crates.io. And then, so their IDE and this task are fighting for the lock.
Oh, is that what it's doing? Because I'm sitting here going, that makes me nervous that it keeps telling me that it's waiting for. Okay, so it's doing a thing. It ran the demo.
It ran the demo.
Okay.
But yeah, it went and fetched the dependencies, then built, and then you're good to go.
So I just got a comment from someone saying that crates also has a really good chrono duration thing. Is
It
that's
does.
different than this one?
Um, yeah, I think it might be. I honestly don't know the kind of
I'm sure
what
there's a
is
ton,
what.
right? You can't know all the
Yeah,
libraries.
yeah, there's a
Okay.
ton. So it still is having a little bit of trouble. Um, this is Rust Analyzer, by the way. It's trying to figure out where a init is, what the types are init
Right.
are. And when it can't figure it out, what I do generally is just go to the docs. So let's just pull up the documentation.
That was this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if we go to the top of these docs,
Okay.
where it has we are in something slightly weird. Oh yeah, we're not in docs.rs. Go to the tab to the left,
Yeah.
and there should be a search somewhere.
Find crate? No, I'm already in the crate.
Oh yeah, click documentation.
Funny. That looks
Similar. Yeah.
okay.
It says all crates. So if you type in there for init, hit enter.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, okay. So that is the thing I was looking for. So this is a way that when you're reading documentation, you tend to jump back and forth between that search bar and the results. And here we're seeing, okay, SDL init does indeed return a capital R result.
Okay.
And
So
this is, go ahead.
I'm just hypothesizing, so you can correct me then. This is the success case is an SDL object, and the failure case is a string saying why.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's just the result is a standard way that you think about things that could potentially error in Rust.
Right.
And it's up to you what you want your success and failure cases to be. So here they chose SDL as the success and string as the failure. Most of the time you have more of a structured error.
Right.
So, it wouldn't be a string, but for this, because it's binding to C and that's all they got, maybe they just prefer to use the string.
So I think for the sake of people watching here too, we've got expected, which is something that various people have been trying to get into the standard for a while now, which is the same kind of idea. Or you can think of it as a variant of two different types, I believe is the correct way to say this. Okay.
Yeah. And what you see under there where it says unwrap,
Yeah.
what unwrap does is it will take result and then it will say, if it's okay, it hands you the okay case. If it's an error, that's called a panic. So that's the closest thing that Rust has to an exception.
Okay.
Which is that it actually starts unwinding the stack and trying to bubble that up to something that can catch a panic.
All right. I've got a comment here that someone said, doesn't SDL have an error code? SDL probably does return error code. We can't really necessarily speak to the quality of this crate for how it's deciding to wrap these errors, right?
That's right. This was just the one we found, well, the one that I found years ago when I was working on it.
So I'm curious. Okay, so box. I just hit dot here to see what it does.
There's actually more than just these,
Okay.
but Rust Analyzer isn't able to pick up all the traits that result implements.
Okay.
So unwrap is one way that you can do it. Another way would be dot.
Oh, it's not even
expect.
showing me unwrap. That's funny. Okay.
Yeah. So expect would be unwrap this, and if it's not there successfully, then panic, but panic with a particular error message.
Okay, so how?
So you can just type an error message in.
Oh, just like that.
Right.
All right.
I believe that's the yeah.
Now, can I access?
You might be able to do formatting if you do format. So lowercase format, bang. You can do the same thing we're doing with print line. Yeah.
Right. But then can I access whatever this failure case was, that string, from inside this?
Nope.
Okay.
So the way that you would do that, so let's take the expect out.
Yeah. Let's do that. I want to understand this error handling and how this works.
Yep. And then take the dot out.
Oh, okay.
So now it's going to return a result, which is not going to be something that we can use later on. We still need to get the STL value out of the result.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that we would do that in Rust would be to match STL content. So match is the keyword, and then STL content is the variable that we're going to match on. Context, sorry.
Yeah, I figured that's what you meant. Just like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then open curly.
Okay.
And now we've got two cases. We've got the OK case and the error case.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So yeah, okay.
Okay.
And now this is like, this kind of unpacks the enumeration into two kinds, or however many cases the enumeration has.
Uh-huh.
And so this is the OK kind. So you could do, how fancy do I? Let's get slightly more fancy. So on line 10, say let.
Where? Oh,
at the very
start?
beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to shove this into a variable. So say like let context equals. All right, so because Rust is expression based, we can do something like this. So we can do a match and then assign the result of the match into context.
So I've been doing so much code refactoring lately. I'm going to save us just a little bit of pain, and I'm going to rearrange these values so that we don't have to change the code later.
Totally.
Okay, so now the rest of the code. Oh, hey, look, it gave us the result phase.
Yeah, well, that's because it sees we're about to pattern match, and it's like, well, the only thing that would have OK would be a result. Clearly.
Oh, so it's kind of working backward, possibly.
Yeah,
okay.
this is Rust Analyzer, I believe, trying to figure out what's going on.
Someone just told me to restart VS Code. Why?
You don't need to.
Okay.
All right, so we haven't finished doing the match, so let's go ahead and finish doing the match. So we're matching context.
Okay.
We have an OK case. So in that OK case, we've got a value inside of OK.
Okay.
Right, so we'll name that. This is all pattern matching for those that are familiar with that.
So in the OK case, I've got the whatever result.
Result, yeah.
Okay.
And then, so after the closing paren, say equals greater than, or make a fat arrow.
Okay. Oh, I
and
see.
Then space result, and then comma.
Comma. Oh, so because commas. So this is saying
commas. Yeah, they like commas in this language.
In the OK case, take that value, the OK value, which in this case is the unwrapped SDL context object, and simply the result of the expression is result, and now that is being assigned to this SDL context.
Exactly right.
Okay.
And then in the error case,
and it's
Yep. And now we have the error.
Yeah.
What we probably want to do here is we can print. Yeah, maybe there's some kind of message, or maybe it's an error. Oh, yeah, it's a string.
It's a string. We know it's a string. Yeah, that's why I was.
So let's do the same fat arrow.
Wait, I'm sorry. Someone is Peter just gave us gave us a tip and said, "Can I somehow tip Christopher Sayre? He's doing a great job."
Oh, awesome.
In the support chat. Okay, so Christopher Sayre, you know who that is?
I do not know.
Oh, okay. He says, I assume that restarting Visual Studio Code will let it understand SDL2 better. If he's following along on his own stream, I don't know.
Okay, I mean, we can give it a try.
What the heck? I mean, no harm.
Yeah, what the heck? It could be that Rust Analyzer needs to have a cleaner starting position.
Loading. Okay. Oh, yeah. All right, there we go.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Good job, Christopher.
All right, yeah. Yeah, so it refreshed. Oh, type F1 reload window is another option, it says.
Oh, cool. I love it. I'm like learning as we go along too. This is great.
Oh, you always learn when you do this stuff. There's people that always know what's what. All right.
Okay, so we have the message. So I would say do a fat arrow.
I was just gonna say, so there's no meaningful thing for me to return here, though, right? Like,
Right. So what I would do here, so do curly, print the error message, and then just return.
and then return.
Yeah, and then semicolon. So
So
that's what I would do.
is this effectively like a lambda or something? What am I just doing here?
It's just a block.
Okay, just a
So
block.
just like
Okay.
in C++, because most of the time you might be returning a simple value. You don't have to have a block. So
Okay.
the line above it doesn't use a block.
I'm just getting fancy. Don't
Totally.
mind me. Oh yeah, restarting it definitely helped. It's like
Yeah, it was
it's on
yeah,
top of things here.
big
Thanks.
difference.
Okay. It looks
Yeah,
like it's telling me I need a semicolon.
you need a semicolon there. Yeah. And then if you format that, it should look slightly nicer.
Yeah, my font's all okay. Now I'm kind of curious because I'm not used to this command window. Oh, and Control Shift I can do that here. If I hit Control Alt, it jumps me out of my remote VM because that's the escape sequence. So a lot of keyboard shortcuts in CLion are Control Alt, and I get people on the stream yelling at me, "Use Control," and no, I can't use Control Alt. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Just to answer some of the questions, why
Yeah,
not
go
use
for it.
panic in this case? You can use panic. In fact, that's what unwrap would be doing, would be to panic. What we're trying to do is march us step by step wise closer to what you do in idiomatic Rust. And in idiomatic Rust, you generally don't panic. You always are working with values and then bubbling values from functions into functions that call them, and then handling each step of the way.
I just got a mental picture of in Java where you have to specify all the possible exceptions that might be thrown, and then you have to do all the
Right.
throws cases. And I mean, does it feel that way, or does it feel cleaner than Java
It's
sadness?
as you get used to it, there are some similarities with exceptions, but because it's values, you always I feel like you have just that little bit more of control.
Okay.
It's never really going to bubble all the way out unless you are actually panicking.
So what actually
Um,
happens right here when I'm returning and I don't
you're
have a value?
returning from the main. Yeah, you're not actually in a lambda or something. You're returning from the main. So,
Oh, so this whole thing is still the same context. This
yep,
return is returning.
that's right.
Oh, yeah, that does seem better than a panic in this particular case to me.
Yep. When you work with like an example that has multiple functions, what you'll end up using is a nice shorthand. So what we did was match, okay, this is with the okay, and then return the exact same thing that was inside okay,
Right?
and it fits an error. Um, all of that can be the question mark.
Let's do
So
that
you put
then
it,
for the video subsystem and leave this how it is. So we have examples of both cases.
okay.
Does that sound good?
So in order, yeah, we can do that. In order for this to work in main, we have to change main's um, main's type.
Okay.
So we'll give main a return type. So put a slim arrow or thin arrow,
Okay.
and then result.
That's capital result. Okay.
Yeah, and less than. So this will be a templated type or a parameterized type.
Okay.
Because just for this, we don't really have anything meaningful to return for main. Just do open paren, close paren. And this means like the empty type, a type of nothing.
Sounds
And
depressing.
then this type has no meaning.
Is that like void or is it different than? No, this is a result
It's,
that contains nothing.
that contains a void. It really doesn't have any meaning in C++.
You could do a
And
result. You might be able to do variant with zero options. Can you do that? You can do a you can do a tuple with zero types in it.
right.
Anyhow.
Yeah, I think that's technically what this is an empty tuple.
Okay.
but I'm sure someone in the chat can correct me. All right, so the other thing that result needs is the error type. We
Ah,
haven't added that yet.
sorry.
So let's go ahead and,
Wait. Oh, so that's the not error result. This is the error result.
that's right.
Okay.
And this is going to match whatever the error type is that we're working with in that function.
Okay, which apparently is
For this
strings.
function will be string, which is generally, it's a little weird. That's not how you would write an API these days.
Yeah,
But
I'm sorry. What I was finding myself curious about was this next call. Oh, right. I can just mouse over it because it's all working now. Yeah. So this one also is
yay,
video subsystem, comma, string. All right, cool.
right. So what we're going to do with this example is to get rid of that unwrap, and we're going to put a question mark in its place.
So sorry. I'm still not used to IDEs like doing stuff around me.
And then semicolon. Right. So you see that it's correctly identified. That's it. Just question mark.
Oh, semicolon. I thought you said colon. All right. All right.
So notice that it sees inside the OK, and then it pulls out video subsystem, which is what we want. That's
Oh,
the
right. Because
actual
this is coming
interesting
from the
value.
IDE again. Right. Sorry.
Right. And then if it fails, what it's going to do is it's immediately returning right there. It's immediately returning with the error message. So it doesn't go any further.
So I don't get the pretty print version of this.
You don't get the pretty print. You only get the message by itself.
Okay. And if I really wanted to do proper error handling for this, I might create a little helper function that does something.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get fancier. Yep.
Okay, that makes some sense. It's like video.
Exactly. Is it a video? Well, if it is, we can use it.
Let's see what happens.
All right. And then let's actually just kind of skim through. Do we have any more unwraps in here? Yep.
Apparently they're constant. It's like every line. It is
Well, this
actually
one's a little
every
bit
line.
different, right? Where it says window and window build error. So this isn't string anymore. And this is one reason why you don't return string as the error result. You
Right.
try to return something that's compatible with the standard error
Right.
so that you could, this returns one kind of error, this returns a different kind of error and a different kind. You can use question mark for all of those and then bubble up into the general error format.
I was just trying to see what the thing you would find me. Okay, so that's a window build error. And you're assuming that this is compatible with the built-in error type?
Yeah, but maybe even that assumption, we would have to look that up to see if that's actually true.
Okay, so I really do want to understand what best practices error handling looks like. So what is
Totally.
this?
So if we look in, let's pull up the standard library documentation. We've seen SDL's documentation, but it's
Yes.
probably helpful to see the standard library. So just go ahead and Google.
Sure. Sorry.
And then Google, the way I generally look is Rust space and then something. And so this would be Rust space std space error.
It auto-completed it for me. This is what people search for when they're using Rust.
Yeah, that first one. The actual first one.
Oh.
That's all right.
I always... This is Google.
Yeah, it seems like that would be an advertisement.
I always... so I actually don't use Google anymore. I use DuckDuckGo, so I just assume...
You can use...
Yeah.
Yeah, DuckDuckGo actually has Rust docs built in.
Okay.
So you can just search the Rust docs using their plugin.
Oh, that's neat. Someone should do that for DuckDuckGo for C++ so that it uses the correct C++ website instead of the other one. Sorry, I don't know. Hey, someone told me to type cargo doc. What does that do?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Cargo doc. Oh, it's
So
documenting all the things.
yeah, what we haven't talked about is some of the other built-in things that Rust can do. One of them is that it can search for all the Rust doc, all the so you can do normal comments, but then you can also do like the oxygen style comments in your code, and then it will lift all of those into an HTML for you. What is that, Jason?
You just started jingling.
Did I?
I don't think it was me.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Is
Uh,
in the other room.
okay, you know what it is, though. Okay, sorry, just making sure. That was a little weird over here. All right. Sorry about that.
The ghost of Christmas past.
Oh, so I'm getting oh, I'm getting all kinds of documentation popping up now. I don't think.
If you so if you do an ls in your project
Yeah,
and then ls target
this window's going to get too small in a second here.
and then doc.
Oh, look, and it built its own HTML files. And
So open wherever the index is. I don't see it.
it's uh,
Settings HTML. I see. Oh, you might have to go into one of those subdirectories.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, so I'm going to go back to this terminal. Cargo doc open.
Oh yeah. People know some of the fancier stuff that I know.
Open,
Dash
which
dash
wasn't
open, I think. There you go.
Ooh. What?
So this is your project plus all your dependencies.
What?
So you can go read their documentation.
I wonder if someone from the Conan team is watching this, because
I'll tell you. Well, so we haven't talked about testing, but so you can tag functions as test functions. And maybe we should just do one just for giggles.
Okay, wait, all right, so we're kind of doing this at the moment. I'm gonna pull this
Yeah.
back out. Now, so all this code should still run as it is, and we've discussed two different ways of handling these errors. We cannot just do the question mark down here because that's going to return something that's not compatible with strings, so it would fail to compile if I put the question mark down there.
Yeah, go ahead and try it, but I believe that that will fail if that type inference is correct. Yep. What? Oh, yeah, yeah. Let's fix that error first. So what we did to get question mark to work is that we changed the type of main.
Yeah.
So before it was void, and now it's not void anymore. It actually expects a result.
Okay.
So you can return OK, and then inside the OK, use that paren again. Yep. And so now that's saying return this OK that's wrapping the empty.
It's like your dog barking in the middle of the night to let you know that all is well. Everything's fine. Bark, bark. It's all good.
So you'll need one more at the end of the function.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, uh-oh. What is going on down here?
All the way to the bottom. And yeah, you can do that. There's actually a shorthand for Rust because everything is values. You don't actually have to say return. You can just say OK with the parens.
Oh, because I'm not exiting prematurely from the function.
That's right. So this would be no semicolon. So semicolon removes the value. Yeah, it's a quirk. It's a quirk of the syntax. So semicolon would be take this value and eat it. Do not return it.
Okay.
It's just
So
like the last value that flows out of the block is what is returned from the block. That's the way to think about it.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of what we did in ChiScript, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, I don't know. It is, yeah, we basically did something like that. Okay, so this still can't, this now is giving me a proper,
Right. So we would have to turn that back to unwrap.
yeah, I'm just wanted to look at the error message.
Yep.
The trait convert from build error is not implemented for, oh, so we could, it could be
Yes.
possible that it's automatically convertible to a string and then all would
Right.
compile here and we'd get the
That's
error
right.
message. All right.
Had they implemented it on their side, then it would just work.
I'm kind of curious. Control Shift I. I just was curious what if their file matched the syntax that was expected. Oh
So we
goodness, you
should be
use.
back to running.
I'm sorry, I just noticed the underscores for
Yeah, that's
separators.
optional. Yeah,
I don't know if
you
you
don't
know
have to
this.
use that.
C++11 added single ticks as a separator.
Oh, cool.
I'm not sure how I feel about the underscore. My brain is mostly going like, how do you parse that? Like, I guess it would be the same as a single as a tick, but
Yeah. I wonder if they did it because, well, commas already have meaning, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel either. I don't use it.
sorry. Okay, so we're back to this
Yeah,
rotating color demo. All right, we were
sweet.
starting to go down a different road, and I pulled us back. I don't remember what it was.
I was going to talk about testing a bit
Oh
because you
yeah,
like talking about, best practices and
yeah,
whatnot.
best practices, definitely do it.
So it doesn't, we're just going to make a test that isn't quite related to anything here
That's fine.
because we're like in SDL land.
Yeah,
But let's make a test. So let's make a function.
fun.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a fun function?
It could be.
Okay.
And then it doesn't matter what the name is. So you can name it what you want.
Is this a test? The function itself?
Yeah, we'll make this into a test.
Okay.
But the way that you don't actually have to say test
Yeah,
because
okay.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna give it a funny name,
A human readable name. Yeah.
and then we will figure out what it's doing. Okay.
Right. And then no arguments.
Okay. And
These
if I
can return result if you want to get fancy, but I'm just for brevity, let's not return result.
can I explicitly say that it returns void?
Maybe.
Okay. So it's not something that common people do.
No, it's you don't really do it, but yeah, you
All
might
right.
be able to do that.
That's fine.
And then we're going to do something that breaks on purpose so we can see what this looks like.
Okay.
So do assert underscore. Yeah, it's right there actually, EQ. And does it take, yeah, two things that are not equal, exactly.
Okay.
And then the last thing that we need to do to turn this into a test is to, remember we did before we had derive debug on the function? So it had like hash, square brace, and when we did derive, that allowed it to be debugged. We're going to use a similar thing.
On
so
the
we'll
struct.
use that hash on the struct.
Okay.
Here we're going to do something on the function. So we'll do hash, square brace, and then test.
Ooh.
I know. It's like, okay, would you like to run it? How about now?
Would you like to run it now? Oh, the test failed.
So let's look at that.
I'm guessing for obvious reasons. Oh,
Wow.
the entire stack trace.
There's a whole backtrace.
That's great.
Oh, because it panicked. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
Assertion failed, left equals right.
Yeah. And that's the
So
main thing. That's mostly what you'll see. For some reason, your backtrace is turned on. Um,
I have that
yeah.
problem. All my tests passed.
Yay. So testing is built in as part of Rust.
Now, what if I
And
say I want to run all tests right now, not just this test?
so great. Let's go to the command line.
Okay. Oh, wait. Uh, sure.
That one. So cargo space test. Enter.
Well, they ran really fast.
Yeah, so that will run, well, it's already pre-built. If you want to go back, well, I was going to say you can do cargo space clean, but immediately after you do that, the IDE is going to be like, hey, all my artifacts disappeared. What are you doing? And
Oh,
it
would
will
that clean
start.
all the docs and like everything?
Mm-hmm. It cleans the whole target
I
directory.
totally did it. So it didn't complain yet.
Right. But when you hit save, it's going to have to
Now
rebuild
it's like,
everything for you.
I'm reinstalling everything. I'm building the. Oh no, is it going to
Yeah.
rebuild the docs too?
No.
That was under target? It was.
Yeah.
So that was.
Cargo doc.
Okay. Because that's pretty fancy. Now feel like I can imagine that if you're not careful, you end up with a ton of disk space taken up by docs in a bunch of your projects. Maybe this
Yeah.
is
In fact, actually, disk space is something to mention on this stream.
okay.
By default, Rust will do incremental compilation. So it'll snapshot the compilation for you. So when you do a change to your project, it will only build what it needs to build to successfully recompile.
Okay.
The cache of that incremental compilation can get quite large sometimes, I will admit. So if you do a lot of Rust, especially on really large projects, it's helpful to clean that cache from time to time because it can just kind of get filled with a bunch of cruft.
Is that like
It's per project. So
oh
in the project directory, yeah, it will be in target. There'll be a space in target that is the
it is the cache.
incremental
Okay.
compilation cache.
So it's
I can't
not
remember exactly where it is. Yeah, incremental. Yeah.
oh well huh. All right. Yeah. Whatever. Let's do it this way.
Oh.
Dependency
So you see
graph.
that one file is like 2.2 megs, and that one is like 2 gigs. Not,
Two
yeah, 2
gigs.
megs.
Ah!
2 gigs.
I'm
Well, they
like,
do. I mean, for
this is a
large
small
projects,
VM.
incremental gets really big for. So I think for new, some of my incremental stuff was in the gigs.
Okay. So it's kind of like it's by default doing a C cache kind of compilation, it sounds like.
So I think it is similar. Yeah,
So if I change the file, if I change the project and then change it back to some previous version, it doesn't have to rebuild. It just grabs it out of the cache.
potentially.
Like switching
Yeah,
back and forth. Okay.
yeah. I'm a little fuzzy on exactly how the incremental compilation works.
Oh, wait. What's this?
You can disable incremental compilation. Yeah. At
Okay.
least that was true as of like a year ago. I'm not sure what the current state is,
So this
but I
guy,
assume you can.
this person, Christopher, said 39 gigabytes is his cache or something.
It can get really big. Like if you work on the same project over a long period of time and you're changing Rust versions, let's say you sit on the nightly Rust version,
Yeah.
which means every day you have a new Rust version. Each time you upgrade, the old cache is not valid, but it's not going to go deleted.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So now you have like hundreds of versions of the same cache over and over again with slightly different versions of it.
So is there... Huh. I was just wondering if there was like a cache clean option.
They should add one.
It
I
does
think
seem
that's a
like
good
they should
idea.
add one because Oh no, clean profile, clean artifacts, clean. Huh. No, it doesn't seem to have a clean for the incremental. But it does seem like something to add, perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, this is most of the time this won't bite you unless you're changing Rust versions a lot or you're doing a large project over a long period of time. But it's something to keep in mind.
Um, you don't have all the time in the world remaining. I
Yeah. How many
have,
minutes do I have? Like 40 minutes or so.
yeah. I have two questions, I think. No, let's go with okay. Let's say I want to move this test into another file. Yeah. How do I add more files to my project?
Let's do that. So let's make a test.rs
All right. Should
in
I
the
use
same
the
directory.
IDE?
Sure.
New file. Oh, all right. That worked.
Yep. And then in main, go ahead and move that guy over.
See, cut and paste coding is fine. Copy and paste coding is where the problems lie.
All right,
Okay.
so save that
Okay.
and go to main and type at the top. So we have these use statements, but
Yes.
the way to pull in other files into the same project is a keyword called mod, which is
Mod.
short for module. Yeah, space,
Uh-huh.
and then test. So this is going to pull in the test file and make it part of this project.
Semicolon.
Yeah.
So now if I wanted to from in main, I can, this is something else I wanted to understand. So this is also a regular function. I can just call it or I can run it as a test thing.
Yeah, but the way to call it would be, so it's still namespaced under test. So we would need to do test : and one last thing. So if you go ahead and try to build this, actually go for it.
Yeah, sure. It's
Let's see what the error is.
oh, we did that clean, so it's doing the, oh, it died.
Yeah, but let's see what the error.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just cleaning up the window a little
Oh,
bit.
no worries.
Not found in test. Was that the name of it?
I can't remember.
I thought I
What did
called
you call it?
I did call it funny name. Okay.
Ah, okay. So this is showing maybe something that is worth diving into a little bit.
Sure.
So in C++, you would have if-defs around things that you wanted to compile sometimes, but not other times,
Right.
for example. So this is like if-defing around that function and saying only in test mode compile this function. Otherwise, don't carry this around. Like if you're doing a release build, you don't want all your test functions sitting in your binary.
Okay.
So we could actually, just for giggles, let's just create a normal function in the module,
Yeah.
and then we'll use that.
Did I do that right? No.
I32, yeah.
Is that, did I do anything
Yeah.
correct here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm
So
gonna try calling that here.
oh, it recognized it. By the time I was done, it's like, oh, you mean other function?
Yeah.
Yes, I did mean other function.
So if you try to build this, we're almost there. We're going to get a different kind of error this time.
Function is
it's going to say
private.
it's private.
Okay.
So by default, anything that's being exported out of a module, you have to be really explicit about what is public that's being exported.
Okay.
So here, nothing is exported. So if you put pub, I was switching languages to Java in my head for a second. If you put pub, this will export that function as part of the public side of the module.
Okay. So now I should be able to actually compile it. Oh, wait, now it's complaining about something. Oh, it's sorry, it was just hadn't updated its world yet. Oh, I'm
That's right.
curious now. So someone
Mhm.
reload window. Okay. I mean, it did the right thing, it looks like. It's catching up. I see. Okay.
Right.
Oh, I don't have a. It is still catching up. I don't have a run here anymore. I killed it. It's dead. Oh, that's kind of funny actually to watch it load in the bits. All right, now you're going to give me the debug yet? Come on. What show fixes? Change
That is weird.
change visibility to pub crate? That can't be right. I think I made it sad. I did make it sad.
Yeah, you may want to just restart VS Code.
I'm going to try building here, or cargo run. So it still
Cool.
worked.
Mhm.
That does make me sad. That should have, well, whatever. Oh, and it pulled up my last project, or it pulled up the project in the directory that I was currently in, or something.
Did you close it before?
Did I close Visual Studio VS Code before?
Hmm.
Yeah, I have at least like twice so far in the execution
I
files.
mean, like when you were just restarting it, did you close it before you restarted it?
Yeah, close. Yeah, it's definitely closed.
Okay. Okay.
All
Just
right.
checking.
It's funny. I still don't have my run button back. I feel like I.
Yeah, I don't see Rust Analyzer doing anything. If you hit save right now, does it kick on, I wonder? No. Weird.
Run build task. Cargo build.
So that works.
Oh, that's really weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of like in a half state.
I
I don't
wonder
know
if
what's
anyone
going
on
on.
this stream is like, well, duh. Remove the pub. I think it's pub. Putting pub in front of main is weird. But it was there. Did I do that? Ah, no, it finally came back.
Okay,
So
we're
it was
back.
just the IDE doing its thing. Other people are saying pub in front of main is weird.
Uh,
That was there from
yeah,
the example. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
You shouldn't need it.
All right, but now we're back into a world that works. And now this is a debug build.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want to do a release one?
No, that's okay. I was just making sure because that's by default is a debug build.
Mhm.
And there's still a breakpoint set on line 25 because I had set that on the last code. Okay. So, and this is what I need to do. I do this for any file that I want to access from any other file. I do this mod thing.
Yep. So you can do mod to a directory, and that will pull in the directory. There's like a mod file in that directory, and then its job will be to pull in the files that are part of that module.
Okay, so
So
not just like
it's
that.
yeah, you would give the directory name. So you could do it wouldn't just have to be a file by file. You could do more than that.
Okay. All right.
So these mod statements like this, so we're making main.rs, which allows us to create an executable. You can also create libraries. So if you're sharing libraries with each other, say that's generally what we do on crates.io.
Right.
You'll share your crate, which is generally a library, and then I'll take it in as a dependency. So SDL2 is a library.
Right. And that's what we're doing
When
here.
you do that, you create, when we did cargo new in the name, that creates a binary by default. But if you do cargo new name dash dash lib, it creates a library by default. So it will build what needs to happen for a library.
If I had libraries and executables mixed in one
That
package,
will work. Yeah, that will work. You just explain it in cargo toml. You'll say, okay, for the library, do this. For the binaries, do this.
Okay. So right now I'm creating one package, but I can add libraries and whatever in it or something.
Yeah, you can say that the default is a library. So you'd say like square bracket lib square bracket and give it a name. Yep. I don't remember exactly the syntax. I'm kind of something like that. And then afterwards, you could do square bracket, bin, square bracket.
Uh-huh.
So like two square brackets.
Oh, sorry.
So this is because in your project, you can have multiple binaries that are created as
Yes.
you build. So in like new shell, we have like a dozen or something. And so you've got one of these for each of the binaries that are built.
Okay.
And then in here, you would say like what the binary would be called or whatever. I don't remember the exact syntax, but this is the general flavor.
Okay. Should have hit the mute button. I got some comment from someone. I rarely need to debug.
That must be nice.
Okay. I'm gonna. All right. I guess the last question I have. We kind of talk about test. We kind of talk about function, project layout. You guys can do stuff at compile time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like const expr or something.
Yeah, that's just getting added.
Okay. So I thought I had heard that you can do things like even run open files and stuff at compile time, or am I
Oh,
confusing?
okay. So there's a system called proc macros, procedural macros.
Okay.
So we saw print line, and print line's a macro.
Okay.
You can make your own macros that run arbitrary code. So while the compiler is compiling, it sees that macro and then invokes like a DLL basically, and then runs some code in that DLL and takes the results of that and then puts that into the compilation that it's working.
Okay.
So you can do extremely fancy stuff. And there's a lot of some of the crates that we rely on in Rust, like for especially for new shell and for projects that do serialization as an example, they'll use these more fancy macros because they can do more things with them.
Okay. So based on what I see the stream saying here, this is probably a good way to wrap it up. I think is to talk about what are our generic code options? What is a macro? Is it a generic? Is it a template? Are these separate things? What do we have?
All right, so let's do a generic function first.
Okay.
So let's make a function. Actually, we're kind of seeing it already. We've got main returns a result, and that result is a parameterized result. But
Right.
let's actually make a generic function.
Okay.
So whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Sure. And then triangle brace. So just like you would do in C or C++.
C++, yeah. Okay.
And then we'll give the type a name, like the type variable a name.
So what this is whatever type of thing is being passed into me.
That's right.
Okay.
And then close your triangle brace.
Okay.
And then open paren and then your argument.
Now it can reference this type. Sorry.
Yeah, other way around. Yep.
And it would look like that.
That's right.
And if I don't reference it, is that also okay?
If you don't reference it, that will be an error.
What if I do it like that?
That's fine.
Okay.
In fact, we didn't really have time to dig into what you can do with traits, but there are some really fun trait things you can do with generics in the return position.
Okay. I just want to satisfy my own understanding here.
That better error.
This is what I was kind of expecting to work.
So that will error. So this is more traditional generics than C++ has. C++, the way that it works is much more like a macro expanding, and then it type checks the result of that expansion.
Okay.
right? So I stamp out T, and then only then, after it's done, do I actually check that that's correct. In this case, you're saying for any possible type in the entire universe, this has to hold. So
Right.
for
And in C++,
any
right,
type,
right, right. Okay. Sorry.
yeah, yeah. So it's like this could be a string. And if someone said they're returning a string, it has to work for that as well,
It
is what
has to work for it. It's not
it
that it's
has
a
to work.
compile error only if you try to do the bad thing.
That's right.
Okay. So,
Incidentally, this is where traits really start coming in handy because generic type variables have to be that wide open. You have to be able to constrain them to say, something with a method that can do toString, please. And that's how you do it. So you'd say like that type name, so type one colon, and then the name of the trait that that type has to implement.
right here.
Yeah. So if we had a trait that said, was the toString, right? That's right.
So it's like
So
a
there is
concept.
a trait called, right,
Ish.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. No, I mean, that's like the original concepts for C++.
Okay. So if I take this off, though, is this syntax valid? Am I saying for any type thing, return a default constructed type thing?
There isn't even, it's not even assumed that default types have any functionality at all.
So this should fail to compile.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to test you. I'm going to test the compiler. Failed to parse manifest.
I feel like I'm in grad school again where they're...
I broke my manifest. That's another problem I have.
Manifesting destruction.
Type 1, not a function. Oh, it's just like giving me all kinds of weird.
Yeah, this is a we couldn't use that syntax because of a ambiguity. So we had to use this workaround.
So it's still going to give me the not a function error because it basically
right.
thinks I'm calling it like a function, and I didn't require that it's a function type that's passed here. Okay.
That's right.
Now, trying to still wrap my brain around this. If I did that,
Yep.
and just out of curiosity, I'm just making what, like an identity function or something here, basically.
That should work.
Now I read past it 4, it's going to automatically deduce the type.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just okay. It just did what I expected to do.
That's right.
Okay. That's interesting, though, because technically this requires that any type passed to it is copyable, right?
Ooh, that's a juicy question. There are some subtleties there. I'm not super familiar with the subtleties. You can say, I think in this example, it works for both borrow and for value types.
Okay.
If you put an ampersand in front of type 1, then you're saying it must be a borrowed type that comes in.
And that would be here in the specification for the generic. No.
After the colon.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're saying whatever type is, I'm borrowing whatever that thing is that gets given to me.
Right. Can I borrow a integer literal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This may fail to compile for other reasons, but we'll see. I'm trying to be the compiler in my head. Yeah.
Expected type. Oh, okay.
Right. So you can put an ampersand here, and then that will work.
Right. That's fascinating because this code specifically would start to get into some really weird object lifetime issues with C++ because I just took a reference to a temporary and returned back a reference to a temporary.
Right.
Where did it go?
Oh yeah, that's a really great place to end actually. So you need an ampersand on the 4. The 4 still needs its own ampersand.
The 4. Oh. To borrow the literal?
Yeah, to borrow the value.
Okay.
So it's kind of like putting 4 on the stack and then taking the address of that location and and then passing that to the function.
So I'm gonna. I just want to stay real quickly for any pendants, I guess, who are listening in right now. With C++, you could do this safely with const references, and object lifetime extension rules would come into play. Done.
Yeah. And in fact, I'm about to show you the how to do an explicit lifetime.
Okay.
So go ahead and save to make sure we're in a working state. We maybe are.
We are.
Yes,
yeah.
we are.
All
Okay,
right.
great. Right. So how in the world does this work? We have 2 references and there's a lifetime and okay. What Rust is doing is something that we can actually bubble up to be a little bit more obvious, a little bit more explicit. So in 9, we have the type 1 as one of the type variables.
Mm-hmm.
What we're going to do is give a type to the lifetime. And so this will be the lifetime of the thing that comes in. We're going to grab that as well. So to do that, say comma, and then tick t. This is a little bit of the
Wait. Like a single tick?
single tick t
T.
or capital T,
Capital
T, lowercase t. I can't remember which one it prefers. And then after the ampersand in val : ampersand,
Uh-huh.
put tick t space.
Okay.
And then at the very end, after that ampersand, say tick t space between the. Okay, so let's stare at this for a second.
I am.
What we're saying is you're borrowing something. And when you borrow something, it has a particular lifetime attached to it.
Okay.
So that lifetime says this is, if you think about a value on the stack, I put a value on the stack. The lifetime is when is that thing going to be popped off the stack and destroyed?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So each thing on the stack has a particular lifetime associated with it, even in C++.
Yeah.
So this is like saying, what is the lifetime of that thing? And what you're saying to make the identity function, you're saying, okay, I'll be borrowing a value on the stack, and it has a lifetime. And the thing that I'm returning has the exact same lifetime as that thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like it has the same value type coming in and the same lifetime that came in is going out. So that they're both generic type variables. One is talking about the type of the thing, and one is talking about the lifetime of the thing.
And this ampersand quote T thing is the whole.
That's the whole
spell.
thing. Yeah, that's right. So what I did was what we had before without tick T, it's telling the compiler to imply this full form where it says whatever comes in, take the lifetime of that and match it to what the return lifetime is.
Okay. This is kind of like, no, I think it kind of feels like it wants to be like C++ forwarding reference in a generic context, but then I feel like if I tried to make that equivalence in my head, I would just end up making the wrong mistakes in the future. So I'll shelve that.
Yeah, this is I'm putting it here because it's something you have to chew on a little bit. Once it clicks, you're like, oh, okay. It's like the address on the stack, but it's generic. Okay. And you can kind of reason about it. But I wanted to at least show when we're talking about borrowing and we're talking about lifetimes, this is what's actually happening under the hood. It's trying to match these lifetimes up.
Then I can do multiple things like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now
so you could pass them in, and then you can say, what is the relationship? Does this live longer than this, or does this live longer than this? For example.
All right. So, again, running out of time, I saw a couple of questions about macros. This is not a macro?
Nope.
How's a macro different?
So a macro would be more of a way to take some syntax and expand it into a canonical form, like a full form.
Okay.
And then after that, only then is it actually type checked. So this is type checked before it's ever run.
Okay. So it's more like a C++ template in that regard.
Macros are more like C++ templates. Yeah.
Okay. Then I guess if you can show me quickly what that looks like before you have to go, just so okay. Then I guess
there isn't like a quick macro syntax. So the macro rules is what you would need to look into, and you can see some examples. I don't use macros that often. I consume them, but I don't write them very often. So
I just
always
found
have
myself thinking it's like macro rules. Right. I guess that's not the case necessarily, though. Okay, so they're complex beasts that you rarely use, relatively speaking.
Yeah, I mean, basically you'll use some crates that create macros for you, and you'll consume them. That's 90% of the time. Sometimes you'll repeat the same function 10 times, and you're like, okay, fine, I'll look up how to make a macro and make this easy on myself.
But you could not just use. Wait, I'm sorry. What is this called? Is this called a template or not?
That's a generic function.
Generic function. Oh, hey, is it really? So in this generic function, when do I need a macro versus a generic function?
So a generic function gives you the ability to have a specialized function for some set of types.
Okay.
And that's good. A macro gives you a way to enhance the syntax of Rust. Let's say you want to be able to do something that you can't just express as a function. You want to give Rust a slightly different syntax for something.
Okay.
Or you want to expand into multiple steps. So when we're seeing print line before, like print line, exclamation point, that's expanding to multiple steps where it's checking what you're passing in to see if it can actually create a formatted string with those arguments.
So the macro is able to parse the string and compare it to
parses the string. It looks at the types of things or looks at the shapes of things, make sure they line up.
Okay.
Then can run IO, formatting and whatever. So it's a bit more, and then it does all of that as an expansion in the compiler rather than like you can't. So if we're trying to make a generic function that was print line, there's no way to write the types that would match what print line can do, because it can take in any type and any number of arguments. That's another thing. We don't have var args in Rust,
and you have no way of doing a variadic.
So you'd have to use right. So to be able to do variadics, you need to do part of it as a macro, and then part of the expanded form as a generic. Yeah.
All right. So I think, to be respectful of your time and such, you just say, is there anything else that you want to cover that we haven't covered yet? And then we'll wrap this up.
I actually, I kind of want to pitch this back to the chat. I've been trying to follow it, but this is impossible. So if anyone, we'll just give a couple of minutes. I've got maybe 20 or so minutes. If anyone has questions that I can try to field. I will also say that Rust is very big, and I have a lot of experience in the areas of Rust that I use, but we'll see. I will try my best.
Can you do an example?
Can you do an example where you use the value of a second parameter, but the lifetime of the first one? Is that possible? So for that to work, the lifetimes would have to match. And if we use the generic function example.
Okay. Generic function example. Is there something?
So you could say type 1 and type 2, but keep tick t by itself.
Okay.
And then take in a second parameter. So it's like val2.
Yeah.
Just colon,
my brain doesn't.
Ampersand, tick t.
So in this one, I'm
explicitly saying
that type 1 and type 2 can be different types but have the same lifetime.
They have to have the exact same lifetime, which is going to make you wonder how in the world is that possible? If you're familiar with doing slab allocation as an example,
No.
or you have a block of memory, let's say you have a block of memory and each of those is slots, and you're going to malloc and free, or you're going to new and delete that whole thing all at the exact same time.
Okay.
Right? So it's like, boom, now I have 50 items. All 50 items have the exact same lifetime because they all get freed as a whole, as a group.
Okay.
So in that case, all of them would have the same lifetime.
Okay. Someone here just said you don't have function overloading in Rust?
So the way that we do function overloading is with traits. So you would have the same function. So the function would say, it would take in a parameter, and that parameter would have a trait on it.
Okay.
And you would use functionality that was part of that trait. And then when you called that function, you can call it with different types, and each type would implement that trait differently. So let's say I32 implements it differently than a string would implement it, differently than position implements it. So the function body is the same, but you're polymorphic on what's actually happening in that function body.
So you make multiple generic functions that are concept whatever on different traits.
Yeah.
Okay. Vec exclamation is a good example to get acquainted with macros, says this person.
Oh, yeah. So that will create a vector for you. Nice and easy.
Sure, why not? How do we create a vec exclamation point? I want a vector! I kind of like that. I'm kind of yelling at the compiler from time to time here.
Vec! It's almost like a swear word.
No, yeah, okay. And then
give it some numbers. Yeah, there you go.
So that's a vector of
oh, you made a vec of 132. Yeah.
If I wanted one of these values, I'm just guessing. Does it look like that then?
That will fail.
Because
so if you want to do type description, I think you have to do
as where?
So you can either write so do I space as U8 for the first one. Yeah, now it's like, okay, the first one's U8, everything else has to be U8. And Weird. It just collapses the type.
Okay.
Okay, so Peter was saying, is there equivalent of throwing an exception and catching it a couple of levels higher? And the answer is kind of. You generally do not do this in Rust. You can panic, and then you can catch a panic later, like higher in the call stack. Generally, you don't do that. You try to keep with the results like we were using before, because then you have more fine-grained control. It's more value-based. Let's see, you should just use results, exactly.
I just saw a comment from someone saying that I can specify the return type there. This all kind of, I mean, the type of the vector here, and force the type. This all kind of makes sense if you're used to C++ class template argument deduction for things like vector and stuff coming from C++ 17. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Ryan Moeller gives a good example here. So you can say 1i8, which is like the shorthand form of as i8.
I was wondering about that one because we have a lot of the similar things. Oh, is that going to compile? Because it said signed 8-bit, and then over here I'm saying it's an unsigned 8-bit.
That probably will fail. Let's see.
Could not compile. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Very good. So and there's the squigglies they came in.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, why am I getting this? Oh, generic function can't be called because it's out of whack now.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Actually, wait a minute.
So Let's
Oh,
see. Lifetime was prior to what?
it said prior to type parameters.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
Slightly backward. That's fine. We're going off into weirdness here.
Sorry. All right. So what other questions we have?
Rust is greater than
Regards to
C++.
lifetimes, how different variables can have the same lifetime if they are destructured in some order. They cannot be destructured at once.
Yeah, how do you put them in a block allocation so that their lifetime is exactly matched? That is
So
possible.
the way to do it would be to create a heap allocated thing and then to partition out the heap allocated space. So the heap allocated thing will have the same, everything in there will have the same lifetime.
And then you kind of
There
assign the
are,
lifetime, say this heap owns these 5 objects or
right,
whatever. All right.
right.
Rust Discord, are you on there, John?
I am. So if someone wants to reach out to me, let me see what my name is there.
Is it Jonathan Turner?
You would think. Oh, I closed Discord. But yeah, and actually for Twitter users, I'm JNTRNR.
Right.
Feel free to ask me questions there too.
That.
Yep.
There's a couple of other suggestions here. I don't think we have time to get into them. Someone said, come back for parts 2 through 10.
I would do a follow-up, but that's up to Jason and his schedule.
Fat enums with match.
Oh, those are fun.
Is that what
So
this is doing?
yeah, so when we were doing the match and pulling out values out of OK, there's more that you can do with enums. So where was that? Oh yeah, it was a little bit higher, I think.
Yeah, sorry. I will.
But yeah, but event, yeah, you found another one. So event is doing one. But when you have, it's not just an enumerated value, like those can contain things and those can have methods and implement traits and stuff. So you can get some fairly fancy code.
Sorry.
That should work.
It didn't seem. I thought, okay, I guess there's not block comments. So I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, that should work. I'm not sure what's going on.
Oh, so is this match, this thing right here, this event, is that a fat enum?
Yeah, maybe it's not entirely clear what they refer to as fat enum, but I would, anything that has its own payload inside of the enumeration, inside of the case. So like key down is actually a structure here,
right?
And it has a key code, and that has some, and so you can like reach in like 2 or 3 levels deep, get the value out, and then use that. It's really handy.
If on quit or the escape key is pressed, then
exactly
break. What is this tick right here?
So that tick is a different tick than we saw earlier. This is extremely rare to see this. But this is a tag or a label in C++.
It's a go-to statement?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
You can label loops. I think you can label loops in C++ and jump into that label or jump out of that label.
You can only with a break. If you jump into the middle of a loop, you're probably going to do something really weird.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Okay.
In Rust either. All right. Any other questions?
So this is saying if, so this break is not breaking the for event processing, it's breaking the loop.
That one. Yeah. It's like that has named that loop and you're breaking that loop. Yeah.
No, I don't think there's any syntax to do that in C++. I'm almost positive there isn't.
Yeah. Is this for nested breaks? Yes, exactly.
Huh. Yeah. Okay.
That's why it's really rare. Generally, it's only in cases like this. It's kind of funny.
That's
generally you don't even write code that needs it. Any other questions while we have a minute or two?
Yeah. So we need pattern matching in C++.
It's super cool. I'm like hooked on it.
Fancy. Okay, I will just state as an aside here that I am currently dealing with some code on a client project that has go-tos to break out of nested loops. And I just kind of go, the code currently works. It is not my job to touch this code right now.
Oh, yeah.
All right. All right. Then I guess let's hang it up. That
Sounds
seems like a
good.
good stopping
This
point
is
for me.
fun.
I am going to hit the end stream button here, I guess. So thanks everyone for coming on and joining us. And yeah, check out John's Twitter and such.
Sounds good.
Last words?
No, just thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Feel free to reach out. The Rust community is pretty friendly, so if you are interested in exploring it, don't feel shy. Head up to Discord or chat on Twitter, and people will help out.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
Yeah.